GS Mains Test Series, we 3 persons take everything. Me, myself, you may be aware, S. Ansari and Laxmikant Jaybhaye and Abhijit Jha. We have a different approach for GS Mains. Like we are faculties, we are mentors, we frame questions, we frame model answers, we evaluate copies. It's less known because market is flooded with so many things. So many a time good things are less known. Today is a mentoring culture. We have been providing test series since 2013 itself. In fact, before that also, when new syllabus was not introduced. And almost one phase of test series has ended. In this field, UPSC, there was a time when test used to be conducted, discussions used to be taken, and students also took interest in discussion. And they attended discussions. They followed the faculties and they tried to improve. Today we have the culture of mentoring, or I will tell that in my subject, brute force of answer writing. That today people focus more on just writing tests one after another. And it has become a culture. Hence, the traditional approach where we have faculties, discussions, analysis, perspective building, somehow they have become, let's say, out of trend in market. So still we don't follow that market trend, still we follow our trend, and that's why we still have discussion. Although yes, less people attend discussion nowadays, but that does not matter because most of the people, let's say, that prepare, but few people only qualify. Every person who is in the list, he has certain uniqueness. That's why he has qualified. He has not tried to be others. He has tried to be what he is, what she is. So just to introduce, let's say, we wanted to introduce, and then they will take their sessions. So just to tell that because people have also, the way in the market it happens, let's say nowadays, faculties are even referred as mentors, not faculties. And students are more about to just get their copy mentored rather than keep focusing on some other things, which I will have in my discussion. So they will take their sessions after me, and if you are interested, you can follow them. Especially let's say that Lakshmi session will be taken not here, it will be in next center, that is in old Rajinder Nagar, because we have a class here after 5 o'clock. Abhijit will take session after me. So let's start. Just to minimize time, I will take on these things like UPSC pattern since 2013, a bit of that, how to approach mains in that 75 days, 4 GS papers and how to secure not 350 only, but 450, 440 can also be, but 440, 450, whatever. Then the key factors, knowledge, perspective, writing skill. Are you in the part of that brute force? Which yes, certainly people are. How to overcome that? Should we follow commands of the question? What is a good answer and how to optimize gain in limited time? Means what we can do in coming 2.5 months. or how we can do maximum out of that in 2.5 months. And then let's say that the role of current developments already you may be aware of, and how to maintain motivation, perseverance in this. So if you see the pattern, let's take one by one. So we have almost 8 years of new pattern, which since you have been part of this new pattern, so you may not be aware or less aware what was before this, what was before 2012. So before 2013 it was very different, and it was very, let's say that quantitative type of answer writing. Hardly we had long answer writing, but that will not go in details of this. When in 2013 new syllabus is introduced, so there were lots of ifs and buts. That pattern will be like this, pattern would be like that. What will be the exactly pattern? So that is how people had ifs and buts. But when we have almost 8 years, so now things are clear. That if you see the questions, nature of questions, so simple, flat, straightforward questions. Some questions can be categorized as simple, straightforward. Like a question on, let's say, Attorney General is a straightforward question, a simple question. Then some questions can be considered conventional. Some question can be considered contemporary plus current. Moderately difficult. And complex or analytical. Although this can be part of separate, let's say simple, moderately difficult, complex. Then the question is that whether we are trying to deal different questions with a different approach, or we try to deal all questions with the same approach. We find when people write answers, so even if question is analytical, but they still write it with the same approach. Like they will try to write same point formats, since nowadays so many things. People are trying to exactly imitate the answers written by the toppers. This and that culture has emerged, just exact imitation, which we wonder that like people have, let's say that simply surrendered themselves to such a fashion that it has become mechanical. They don't have trust in themselves, or they don't believe in their strength. Rather they think that I will follow that, and exactly they follow. So many a time it becomes very worthless that what we talk. Many a time we feel that why we are talking all these things. It's better not to guide. So nature of questions can be classified in different patterns. It can be by conventional, contemporary and current, or it can be, let's say, simple, moderately difficult and complex and analytical type. Then if, let's say, question is conventional, so whether we are writing in that context or we try to write all questions, answers with current perspective. Because nowadays in the market also this is being sold, that we write examples and link with current. But many a time it can become very artificial, that if a question is based on certain context, let's say geographical question, history question, or even let's say that a polity question related to the certain conventional aspect, like a question related to quasi-federal polity. So quasi-federal polities can be a conventional question. So it is not necessarily that we have to link, rather we have to write that basic the concept which the question is located. But we find that all questions people try to write from current perspective. That should not be followed. Similarly, in contemporary and current, again let's say that what they do, so they will make it current, not contemporary. Like if a question related to RTI, so RTI was introduced in 2005. And we are writing in answer in 2022, 21, 2019, whatever. So certainly there could have been developments between 2005 to 2022. Some of the developments would be related to 2005, 2010, 2020. But what we find in the answer that people will largely write the facts which have, let's say, happened just now. So answer will indicate as if RTI has been just introduced. This, rather than taking into that the contemporary aspect of that. And since they do not know, they may not be knowing it, they have not tried to know it, and that's why let's say that the answer will have a current leaning. Hence, what is happening in conventional also, in contemporary and current also, what we end up, we are trying to write a current answer. Then why people are writing current answer? To daily answer writing practice. Although I don't want to sound like critic, but let's say that daily answer writing practice. Most of the daily answer writing practice are current based daily answer writing practice. And since people are practicing nowadays, it has become a culture. It was not a culture 5 years, 10 years back. It has become a culture that daily answer writing is important. Personally, we are huge critic to daily answer writing. To hell with daily answer writing, this is how I say. Although you may not like this and you may quit also, that's different thing. But the question is that daily answer writing is making people disoriented to write UPSC answer or UPSC standard answer. Because those who are telling and teaching about the daily answer writing, they don't have subject level of understanding. Right. Today, orthopedics has become a neurosurgeon. Means today in PPT culture and mentoring culture, anyone has become a mentor. Although again I will tell you, I don't want to sound like critic. But what we are trying to say, we observe that people are making all answers nothing but current oriented. Hardly they distinguish that it is a conventional question, I have to answer in that context. It is a contemporary question, so I have to depict in answer contemporary aspect, and it is, let's say that a current question, so I have to write the current, no doubt. Like last year RTI related question, information RTI Act Amendment Bill 2019, it was asked in paper second. So when a question is asked on any such bill or any such scheme or program which has been launched in the same year, it is a current question. So you have to write on current. But when a question is asked on cooperative federalism, so when a question is asked on cooperative federalism, so should we write only with Niti Aayog cooperative federalism? But most of the people answer will be just depicting Niti Aayog version of cooperative federalism as if there was no cooperative federalism before Niti Aayog. Right. Although our constitution has cooperative federalism characteristics derived from Australian constitution. And we do have some of the institutions of cooperative federalism. Like it can be Finance Commission, it can be Interstate Council. In past it was National Development Council. So there were also institutional mechanisms in past. Now also we have institutional mechanism like Niti Aayog. But if you ask a question on cooperative federalism, what we find that most of the people will write an answer which will depict as if cooperative federalism has just started. This is the flaw. And the person who is the evaluator, he will also write that yes, it is a good answer. Because evaluation is being done on the basis of information, not on the basis of concept, not on the basis of appropriateness of the topic. It is being evaluation in the market on this, let's say, copies. It is being done simply on the basis of how much information you have written. And if you do not write information, they will write 2 more points, write conclusion, write introduction. Right. These things have become new parameters of good answers, which are not parameters of good answers at all. Anyhow, so that is what you should know, that you should distinguish in terms of, let's say, that contemporary. So whether you are writing a contemporary, so cooperative federalism will be a contemporary, let's say, development. Any question related to new economic policy is a contemporary development. Food processing is a contemporary development. And hence you have to trace also, depict your answer as if it is contemporary, not just current. This now moderately difficult question, difficult to take, let's say, take complex analytical questions. Some questions when they ask, so they are demanding that you should write analysis, right? Analysis of that question. Let's say that there was a question asked once called development discourse or collaborative governance. If I talk on paper second. So there are questions which they will ask in analytical fashion. You have to give an analysis of that. Right. So are we analyzing that question, or just we are writing points? Right. So are we analyzing questions? Are we writing in points? Right. This you should know that. Now let's say that this another trend which will deal with how analytical answers etc. But just I wanted to tell that the pattern has changed. If you take from 2012 to 2013, are we changing our pattern, or we are trying to write still answers as per 2012 standard? Not the change pattern, because teaching has not necessarily changed. After 2012, teaching in market is still reflecting 2012 standards rather than 2013 standards. How? So 2012 standard, before that it was polity. But paper second is not polity, it is polity, governance and social justice plus IR. Now, do we see polity in governance way, or we see polity as polity? So, the teaching of polity would change. Polity will not remain like polity. Polity has become now governance. So, do we understand that what is the change in that from polity to governance? And whether it reflects in teaching, or we are still teaching that same polity and that Laxmikant. And governance and social justice, let's say, why we have added. So it's not about that, let's say, that is subject, that is how the pattern, changing pattern. Next pattern is that initially it used to be that current, basically in 2016-17, current questions were asked. So when current questions were asked, so then market started focusing on current. And it was believed that current questions will be asked. But UPSC changed after a few years. So after 1 and 2 years, they made it conventional, current and contemporary. Although they still ask questions related to current. So in last 8 years, what we have come to know, that the weightage, if you see, the weightage of questions, if you talk, from current, conventional and contemporary, the UPSC tries to make it balanced. It does not make it completely current oriented or contemporary oriented or conventional. It tries to maintain a fine balance between them. And that is how, let's say, that if we are reading more and more on current aspect, so we are ignoring conventional aspect. Like say that let's talk about topic called regulation. whether a person has knowledge about regulation, first as a concept or as a topic. And then a person should know about regulation problem today. If question is asked on regulation, so regulation. So this regulation first as a topic, and then suppose a question is framed related to tribe or any current, let's say that regulation plus innovation which we have been expecting. Regulation and innovation. Now, it is a current aspect whether regulation affects innovation. Right. So, whether regulation affects innovation. Now, innovation is present development. Regulation is a contemporary development. Do we understand what is regulation as a concept? Very few people understand. Because when questions are asked on regulation, innovation, people end up writing everything in regulation, including, let's say, that media, social media regulation. So it shows that their understanding is not proper. Regulation is more related to market regulation. That's why topic has been introduced. Not about administration aspect. Anyhow, that is the part of knowledge. But let's say that initially there were this kind of thing that what should be the pattern of the question. Pattern of the question, people thought it would be current or conventional, but now it has become blend of three. Second pattern has been questions are theoretical as well as applied. Means they are not asking only, let's say that question which can be related to just a topic, let's say a scheme or policy. Rather, it is the question has applied nature, application nature. So that, let's say that there is change in the pattern, there is change in the nature of the question. Plus third aspect is that basically some papers, let's say especially paper 2 and paper 4. So they are very analytical type of questions they ask. Like in paper 2, if you see that, so if you see paper, the way the questions are framed, you will find out how questions are asked. Right. This, and that is how, let's say that they have made questions more analytical. But are we writing analytical? Again, I will tell that analytical answers. So we'll show that they are not, let's say that being asked. This is how we can say in general the pattern of the, let's say, paper. Although each paper wise you should have analysis, some analysis have been given. You can see from which topic they ask question, what they ask. But pattern, I did not mean to tell you those topic wise, question wise, it will take lots of time. What we meant is that about conventional, contemporary and current plus simple question, straightforward question, and let's say contemporary question, and let's say analytical question. So are we writing answers the way questions demand? So although we should not show name of the students, but this is how, let's say that we have some copies. We can simply say without showing, you should not see the name. So just to show it, what this is a copy evaluated by me itself. Revise through the model answer, learn about concepts, turn. That I guess it is ethics paper I have downloaded. I should download paper 2, yes. Yes, it is ethics paper I have downloaded. It is paper 4. Paper 4. Paper 2. Yes, 50-50. But your level of knowledge is not a problem, rather the approach of writing. You generally write in points and you start writing without building the answer. Right. Anyhow, basically C has habit of, let's say that, how you write. So accountability, it is related to, I guess, paper 3. It is not clearly visible, I guess. There is one more copy, I guess, of paper. I guess it will be more visible. Yes, my institutional memory, because she has written, let's say, past year also, last year also. So I know about her. Simply this question is not visible, I guess. No. Anyhow, that my purpose is not to share question. My purpose is to share how she writes, basically how people are writing. You'll find that it is a point format. People write, then this social justice, self-reliance, national security, that's all. This has become now a trend in answer writing. This you should know that. And people are not able to build and learn. Since some toppers have written, this is how I have not seen let's see. I know our toppers is copies. I do not know other institutes topper, let's say that copies how they write. But our toppers have not necessarily followed point format so far. So how can we tell that only point format is working? Our toppers have also been even first ranker, whatever, let's say, I don't want to claim. But even from GS test series, we have 5th ranker also. We have 10th also. And we have 14 this year, 14th rank also, Abhinav. And this is how you'll find it. Although he writes in point format, let me share his copy that how he writes. Mock test. I will show my paper if it is. One more copy is there. I guess it is test 1. Anyhow, it is not also visible. How it has been downloaded? Yes. If you see that, he writes in a different format. And you can find uniqueness. Can you find? That's why I told that. Every person, try to understand, every person who has qualified, he would have his own ownness, self. I showed you one copy, it is a point format. Another copy I will show you a point format. But you can see that how he writes. It's introduction. Sorry. His brother also wrote in the same fashion, Abhishek Jha. He is IRS, and he, let's say that this year he qualified. His brother qualified 3 years back, 4 years back. Younger brother qualified first, and elder brother qualified this year. Yes, that person also used to write. You can see that how it is written. Right. This Basically, they both have very good content. They organize the content, they know the content, they plan the content. Right? So it is not a brute force. Let's say in this, like this part is not point format, but then point he writes. It's not that all answers would be in point format, but that person, the copy I was showing, entire copy, all answers would be in point format. So you do not change, let's say that, as if all questions are same, but all questions are not same. How can you write all questions with the same approach? Then let me show another copy. Right. It's paper second. Ignore name, please. We should have deleted the name. Now, last year she started writing in points, which I told not to write. Like, see, she will start writing in points 7. Right. Then next 4. Next point. That is how. What? Writing some facts. She was not writing facts basically. She was writing only points. No any single fact she was writing. Since she wrote some facts, so we told that yes, chalo, at least we have started writing some facts. Now let's EVM. Question is this. What question is? Challenges of free and fair elections, especially the public faith in institution, necessitate the Election Commission of India to undergo its reinvention. It demands analysis. Right. But what it is written? Public faith in institution, the points written, 4, 5. Then reinvention needed. Other side, this 4, 5 points. This, that is how finished. Then Indian presidency, it is related to current development. Again she writes points. Entire answer will be in points, which she was not writing. I know that candidate. She is already in allied service. She used to write before that in analytical format, but market has trained her to write in point format, which I told her also. She did not make to even this year interview list. Or I guess in the final list, yes, in the final list, I guess. So, how to practice answer writing? Someone has asked, right, I did not see that. How to practice answer writing? Daily answer writing is not important. You should read. Do you have so much poor answer writing you should practice daily? Right. If you have so poor writing, so then you should practice. It means your academic level is so poor that you cannot write a piece of article. This, it should not be given dramatized. It should not be given too much of emphasis. In, let's say that in a week, even if you write 2-3 days answers, or let's say 2-3 times you start writing answer, in general time, not in men's time we are talking. Men's time, so you have to write daily answer. That is not daily answer writing practice. Right. The market daily answer writing practice is throughout year. They want you to write from day 1 when we have started preparation. Right. Knowledge, let's say that we will focus on first, let's say knowledge is always lacking among the candidates. And what constitutes a good answer, I will tell later. Answer writing you should practice, but do not dramatize it, do not give it extreme. If your knowledge is lacking, practice will not make you better. Means it will not make you better in terms of quality of answer. Simple. जब तक substance नहीं होगा, answer writing will not help. Answer should have a substance. Right? Substance means quality of content. And quality of content comes by you have to continuously improve yourself. Anyhow, that I was not just about trying to answer this question. So you see the point format. She will write. Now let's take another copy called The person who is secured second highest in, right, if we have, yes, we have 14, 16. Second highest in GS paper of his time, Vinod Dwan. Right. That year he got this, how much it is? It is not visible, I guess. Yes, he got second highest it was. This. Now let's see how he writes. This is what answers. Not necessarily following points in every answer. Some answers can be in point format, some answers may not be. Some answers are analytical, like say that it is analytical. Right. Like this. That is how I can say this. Means, let's say that what we are saying, the pattern of examination is such that one uniform style of answer writing is going to be mechanical rather than qualitative. That is called ki in every answer you follow 4-5 points in support, 4.45 points in against. When you write in point format, so it does not give you space for writing examples and facts, references, making analogy or giving any such presentation. Although we are not saying that we don't have to write in points. Some questions demand that you have to write in points. Like if command is to delineate, enumerate, right, write pros and cons, discuss pros and cons, evaluate. So some commands of the questions are necessarily demanding you have to write in point format. Like what are the grounds of disqualifications of member of parliament? There are points. What are the grounds? Or when we write about, let's say, Election Commission of India, CAG, you write some basics, you write in points. So certainly, let's say that some questions will demand, but the nature of question is such that they are demanding the way questions are framed. Some questions do demand that you should be analytical also. This is how the pattern you need to understand. Mixed type, a blend type of strategies should be followed as per the question demands, rather than that what we follow, that candidate I showed, she wrote same pattern in all answers because we have, let's say that we know her, we have checked that copy, and that we don't find that it is right approach as per the changing pattern of questions, changing pattern of UPSC questions. Like if you take in ethics paper, the questions are conceptual. So when questions are conceptual, how you'll explain it? How will explain it? There can be less number of questions in other papers as conceptual, but there can be 1 and 2 questions conceptual in first 3 papers also. So let's say conceptual, like what do you understand by quasi-judicial body? Once a question is asked, so you will explain a quasi-judicial body is one which can have, right, characteristics like, to explain the quasi-judicial body. So when they ask explain, discuss, analyze, it means they want that you have to become analytical, right? Not let's say that only what factual or point forward or quantitative. This we can say related to let's that pattern of questions. Then next is called how to approach the syllabus. See, if you are writing mains, leave it for some time. छोड़ दो थोड़ा. If you are writing mains, so 75 days or 70 days are very limited time. Then you should plan in such a fashion that you are able to complete both your GS and optional at least 15 days advance. 15 days you should give for revision, means later on revision, after writing tests. Because as of now you will be writing GS test, essay test, optional test. So at least you are writing 3 tests. So in 75 days, we can say 15 days. It means that you have 60 days for, let's say, practicing answers. Practicing answers for different subjects. So now in 60 days, how you can, let's say that again, cover syllabus. So even if you are writing tests, so you can, means you should adopt an approach where the topics are common to all the 4 papers, all the 3 papers, or all the 2 papers. Or topics are common to your optional as well as GS paper. So this way first you will minimize your efforts. That can create a bit problem with your test schedules. But let's say that it will minimize your time in covering the syllabus. Because if you find, let's say that if you have a syllabus of geography, so certainly geography, GS you should prepare. If you have sociology, you should prepare with society. This way. If you have political science, so paper second, public ads, so paper second. So that is how, let's say, you try to cover with that. This nowadays tests also offer you flexibility. Tests, whatever the test, wherever you join, they give you flexibility. Nowadays people do not write test as per what it used to be in past. They write as per as their suitability, they prioritize that. So this way we can consider. So that is what we will say that you can minimize your time by seeing the topics which are common. Like say if you are studying urbanization, the urbanization in paper 1, urbanization related also you can have some of the things in paper 2 or paper 3. Like say if you are reading urbanizations, at least you should know also about a bit of urban local body. Even if it is a topic not mentioned in any paper, but we have been guessing that today or tomorrow they can ask in paper 2. Or let's say once a smart city question was asked in paper 1 also and paper 3 also. So there can be some, like if you are reading society, so society and social justice read together. Society, social justice and social economy you read together, welfare economy. And when you read society, social justice and welfare economy, you read schemes and programs also together. So that will minimize your effort and it will maximize your gain. But if you read topic wise, paper wise, linear ways, it will be time consuming. This you should know that. This is first. The second thing is that there are some topics which demand less time. Some topics are small topics. Those small topics, when you take that subject, so first you should cover those small topics which are expected or largely questions are asked. Like say that pressure groups, they ask in paper 2 again and again. Self-help groups, they ask again and again. Local bodies, they ask again and again. Committees of parliament, they ask again and again. So are you first targeting those topics? Or you are just reading, let's say, paper 2 and all topics and revising? So you should be very pointed in the sense that if you cover most important topics first, it means that your, let's say that relation with UPSC examination, so we are trying to target the most important question first, or those questions which are most expected. And accordingly, let's say that you can reduce the topics which are very, let's say that lengthy topics, big topics, you study, plan accordingly and try to minimize on the basis of making it more subtopics. Like say if you have parliament, so don't study parliament, let's say parliament you can divide into what exactly in parliament questions can be asked. So your plan for the subjects in syllabus should be as per first common topics across the syllabus, plus the topics which are largely asked but they are very confined topics, limited, that, plus the topics which are comprehensive, very broad, in that topic what exactly they may ask. Like say that parliament, say from parliament what exactly they can ask, what can be expected, whether a question on Rajya Sabha can be expected, a question on money bill can be expected, a question already speaker question asked, it will not be asked, already privilege related question asked, it will not be asked. So what they can likely ask, that will result into minimizing unnecessary topics, or let's say that the topics which are less important, that you will give time, and that way let's say that you can prepare most important topics. Even if less important topics are left, still let's say that you are confident that you have covered most of the important topics. And at least let's say 60 to 70% of the syllabus, this is how it is said, because if you get 54% of a person can top, so you have to cover very properly 60 to 70% of your topics, not 100% of the topics. Right. When we say 60 to 70%, so you should be very thorough in those topics. When a question is asked, you are well prepared on that, rather than there is a surface level of knowledge. And that will minimize your time. It will also minimize your time in terms of say 60 days you have. How many tests you should exactly write? What should be considered as standard, let's say, number of tests? Standard number of tests. So should I write, let's say that everyday test, or I should, let's say, limit myself? Because in 60 days, you have to study also, revise also, write also. And next 15 days you have to again give for revision, at least for GS. For optional there is a gap, so you can leave optional. But you have to revise all the 4 papers again. And optional. So that is what we can say, that how much time you should give. At least let's say that you should give 30% of the time. In that 60 days, 30% of the time should go for standard, let's say that, for writing practice. And 70% of the time you can give for your study. Because if you have writing skill, right, if you have a particular optional, you have writing skill, so you will be able to write in any paper. If you have a writing skill for paper second, so you have a writing skill for all papers. It's not that each paper you have to have developed a separate writing skill. Right. Or if you have a writing skill in optionals, it will help in GS paper. So that's why we say that, or if let's say that writing is a very weak area for you, then you should give 40% of the time, 50% of the time for your writing. Because let's suppose there are people who may have written mains for more than, so they may have written mains for more than so they may have written more for more than 1 or twice. So for them, they have studied. So they have to work as per what their weak areas are. If you are not able to complete your paper on time, then you should practice more. If you are able to complete paper on time, then you should practice less. But again, it is not going to work. Rather, you should know that why you are not able to complete paper on time. Do you ever think why you are not able to complete your paper on time? You will not be able to complete paper on time because of some of the factors. First, your mind takes time in processing the content. So while writing, you have to think more and there is a delayed response. So when mind has a delayed response, speed will be automatically affected. Or mind is responding, your speed itself is slow. Then you have to have writing practice. But if your mind is responding, let's say with less speed, not properly, timely, so you have to study and revise. So speed problem can be largely because of two things. One key, I cannot write fast. So it is a writing speed problem. But largely it is not because of that. Largely because the question comes, you think, understand and write, and while writing also you think, it is not responding properly, and then automatically your speed becomes less. It means that you have to plan on structuring, processing fast, and while writing structuring answer. So that's why you have to identify the causative factors for your strength and weaknesses. What are the weaknesses basically? Whether knowledge is a weak area, writing skill is the weak area, and if whatever the area, this is how you should focus. Right. And that way, let's say that you should try to strategize as coming 60 days to cover. The next thing that we have to cover is called, let's say, 4 GS paper, how to secure 450. Now, the question is, you may have already notes. If you do not have notes, so there is no time for that. So it is for those people who will see that they will go for next year, so you must have notes. This is first thing. If you do not have notes for all, you should have notes minimum for 50% of the topics. Like, do you have notes on, let's say, smart city mission? Or do you have notes on all important schemes and programs? Do you have notes on all important, let's say, recent policies and acts which can likely be asked? Let's say education policy, like say health policy, or let's say social media intermediaries regulation 2021. So do you have notes on them? In terms of notes, and any proper note means it should consist of about the topic, its characteristics, features, and then related developments. If it has, let's say, happened, so what are its related developments? Right, elsewhere or in India, plus its weaknesses, advantages, positive aspects, and some good examples, how it can be improved, that can be considered. So do we have notes on that? If you have notes on, let's say if there are 50 schemes, and if you have notes, you can simply revise them. And if you see GS paper, all GS paper 4s, at least minimum one question will be necessarily related to a scheme. If not related to indices, if not related to policy, if not related to act. And if we do not have notes, when question will be asked, we will write a random answer. Random means whatever comes in mind, whatever we know about that, we will write. So we may not be able to write the most important points. We may write random points, so we may not be able to write most important points. Do we know the 5 most important points for education policy 2020? Do we know the most important 4 or 5 points of health policy 2017? Or do we know 5 important points, most important points related to citizen charter? So a person is also writing content, another person is also writing content. The difference will be that whether you are writing the most important points, because all points you don't have to write, and that's why while making notes you should have given focus to that. Now how people secure 450? All these people you can see in the classroom, or those who have secured, as far as our institute is concerned, all of them have planned. Not only topics, they have planned their answers. If a question is asked from this topic, my answer will be this. How they can plan it? They can plan because of targeted topic. Some topics can be targeted. You know that ki pressure group, it is a targeted topic. Self-help group is a targeted topic. NGO is a targeted topic. And committees of parliament is a targeted topic. And local bodies is also a targeted topic. Right. Some institutions like CAG, Election Commission of India, criminalization of politics. So there are certain topics, let's say that necessarily we expect, if you plan 100 topics, you can get 10, 15 topics. So they plan, the person who is writing that way answer, it is planned, everything is planned. What I have to write in introduction when an RTI question is asked. What I will write introduction when citizen charter question is asked. What will be my examples? So this is called planning. Right. And planning demand a strategy. A strategy, that this is how. You must have a strategy related to your important topics, and then you can plan your answers, which are expected questions, and then you will end up writing at least some answers with most important content. Many a time I will tell you that people write a question on citizen charter, but they don't write its core features. You can test it among yourself. Whether you are writing the citizen charter's core features, or you are writing, I will ask, what is the difference in your answer? When you write good governance, when you write RTI, when you write citizen charter, so whether your characteristics are different. Or in all the three topics, you end up writing the same characteristics. It means then you have not seen the distinction. So that way you cannot secure even 400 plus. Right. This. Now, another way to plan would be like, let's say that at least in GS paper, means 4 papers, 2 papers you should be very strong. Right. It can be your ethics paper. Ethics paper can be targeted because people are easily securing, if you see this year. So most of the people, those who have got a rank, they are getting 112, 115, 117, 118. This is how we are getting. Most of the candidates are coming in that, let's say, 100, it is 110 plus and between 120. 110 to 120 they are getting. So if we have to target, let's say that 450, so it means, let's say that you have to have at least base average 450 means average 100 in each. Means you should be strong in all 4 papers at average level. Right. Even let's target not to become so much market oriented, 440 bhi ho sakta hai. Right. So that does not make much difference, isn't it? But if it becomes more than, let's say less this, more 430, then what will happen? You will be out of 100 list. Right. And if optional becomes 220, then out of list. There will be no place. So the question is that now each you have to have 100. It means it demands you are good in, means good in the sense average good in all the 4 papers. Right. If you can see those who come in top 100, you can analyze their mark sheets. Plus at least in 2 papers, it should be 125. It should be 125, I say. but it will not come in that way. It's a very big deal. Let's go that it's like 110, it's like 105. So at least you have 215. No. And then we have to get at least 35. No. So we have to, it can be like 115. 115. It may not be, it will be still very challenging. Because securing 115 and 15, you know it. Think about this. So, how it will come? You have to plan your papers. Right. You have to look. क्या होता है? You have to, let's say, immerse yourself in those papers. Right. It's not that you have to, let's say, that it's so difficult. People have done it. You have to just immerse yourself in any such one or two papers. Because I will tell you that in ethics paper you can target 115, but it will take also hard work, intelligent preparation. But it can be targeted. Okay. This. But targeting 125 in paper 3, paper 2, you know it is very challenging. Right. So 129 Abhinav has secured in paper 2. 129 in paper 2. Right. In paper 2, yes. Paper 4 he has, I guess, I do not remember, but it is 110 plus. Right. But in paper 1 and paper 3 he has less. Although his aggregate is 453. Right. Rank, if you want to get 14. You can see the mark. Right. This. Now I will tell AI 17. I know that since we know that AI 17 also what she has 460. But GS में कितने optional में क्या है 259 if I know 259. So this tally will not come by brute force, market race. Right. You have to see your old self, your strength, your weaknesses, and you have to work on your weaknesses. This is what we will say. And in at least any two papers, it means that you have to make either paper 3 very strong, or if luck works, so then let's say pray to God that your luck works. Right. Or paper 1, or you can target paper 2 and paper 4. Targeting paper 2 and paper 4, it depends, let's say you're optional. If you have geography optionals, you should target paper 1. Right. If you have history optionals, also you should target paper 1. If you have sociology optionals, it is difficult to tell, but you can target paper 1. Right. Because sociology can benefit in history also. Right. But if you have political science, public administration, so certainly you should target paper 2 and 4. This. And that is how we can say. Math optional. Right. Someone is saying math optional. Then you have to target all 4 papers. For math optional, it is difficult exercise. So since you will be good at mathematics, so you can focus more. Let's say that can give you advantage in optional, and then you can focus on GS paper as per your interest, which paper you like. Whether you like paper 1, paper 2, paper 3 or paper 4. In any case, anyone should target paper 4. This you should know. Because paper 4, getting 100 plus in paper 4 or securing 110 plus in paper 4 is, let's say that, not a big deal. It can be secured with less efforts vis-a-vis other 3 papers. This I will tell. And for that, there is already a separate strategy I have taken. You can watch that. Or towards end, I will tell, if time allows, about ethics paper especially. But I have taken a separate session on ethics. You can watch that how. And so 1-2 more, let's say, video we will release on further ethics aspects. Basically, we release our case study first class. So we release it, make it public, so you can watch it that also. So that way you can benefit. So because it is a detailed session I have taken on that, so you can see and benefit from that. That is how, let's say, that it goes into securing. And then let's say that key factors, knowledge, perspective, writing skill. Just we wanted to show this. You know what they are testing? We have taken.
Slightly, sir.
Yes. What basically they are trying to demand. Have you read ever the notification of UPSC? It is from notification of UPSC. Mains. What it says? Candidates general awareness of the subject and topic. Means your answers should be evaluated from the perspective of, do you have general awareness of the topic? Candidates basic understanding of all relevant issues. Then ability to analyze. See, they are writing. Ability to analyze. Take a view on conflicting socio-economic goals and objectives and demands. They are saying that you take a stand on that. Can you take a stand on conflicting socio-economic issues and developments and ability to analyze? Then whether answers are relevant, meaningful, succinct. That is UPSC notification. Right. So do we fulfill that? Anyhow, again it is same copy, so I don't want to go into this. I wanted to show this one. Right. It means, let's see what we are talking, knowledge, perspective and writing skills. So let's come to that point. You basically, people have knowledge. Largely they have knowledge, but they lack perspective. They lack this. We'll tell what is this. Writing skill. People have writing skill for compilation. They lack analytical skill. Most of the answers are nothing but a set of compilation of information. What people are doing? You have information, you compile your answers. And how beautifully you can compile the informations. This is what we are doing. So, compilation. So, writing skill has become like compilation of answer. And if you are writing for 2-3 years mains, then you have become more informative. More informative means your answer is again compilation. this, then perspective will come. Knowledge people have. The knowledge have largely at surface level. Okay. People lack knowledge, that is called in-depth concept or insight on topic. This. You read your answers, you read articles in newspaper. When you read articles in newspaper, so some articles you feel very happy. Why you feel very happy? Because it has given some facts, or it has given good perspective. Perspective. Perspective can be most appealing. Most appealing than the set of information you write. And read everyday editorial, not articles in newspaper. A small piece of editorials, and they write perspective in that. They take a stand on that, and they have to express views on that. Read. Do we write that? How can an answer have perspective when the answer has some points in pros, some points in cons, and no conclusion? Then what exactly you are trying to say under that topic? You have said yes, you have said no. Then what exactly is the stand? Examiner will never understand. In fact, nobody will understand. If you talk among yourself and you support also, you are against also, then people will say, after all, what is your stand? Right. Or you can see some people are not writing conclusions. Right. These are now, let's say that this is how we can say market has become like. The market does not follow this IBC model. Simple. Introduction, body, conclusion. This basic thing we are not fulfilling. And see, 20 questions you have, no, we are not expecting that you write in all 20 questions. You are not going to attempt all 20 questions with the same depth and same, let's say that systematic aspect. You will attempt only 10 questions. Because you know 10 questions better than other 10 questions. Then you will attempt 5 questions in average fashion. And rest 5, jaise taise. Jaise taise means you will complete somehow. It's like at least 2 questions you will not know at all. You do not know information. Okay. So, are you doing justice in 10 questions? That will give you merit. Where you will get merit? In 10 questions. Okay. Because they will show to the examiner also that yes, what you are, your personality. Examiners will also always try to know what you are doing in the questions which are simple, straightforward, doable. Whether this person is able to write good answers on that. If a person is not able to do the simple questions, doable questions better, we don't expect that the person will do the difficult questions better. And we do not write necessarily question on public account committee with best possible manner. We know it. Right. You can also try whether you write good answer on public account committee. The questions which are simple, conventional, you become also very casual. And quality of information is not there. क्यों आएगा quality of information? इसलिए कि पढ़ा तो लक्ष्मीकांत है. It will not give you quality of answer. वो तो prelims के लिए लिखा है. So, मेंस के लिए आपके पास पब्लिक अकाउंट कमेटी कि कुछ एग्जाम्पल्स होने चाहिए गुड वर्क ऑफ गुड वर्क, व्हाट गुड वर्क इट हैज डन. Do you have any information on public account committee that it has done good work? And do you have information what we need to reform public account committee and some good facts on that? I will tell you very less people know that. So what they will end up writing? Very mechanical content, which is a bit outdated content also. Right. Because while preparing they have not given focus, right? Like you should not prepare from Laxmikant, rather you should prepare from PRS. Right. PRS can give you better content on parliamentary committees than Laxmikant. Right. Because question will never be asked what public account committee and role and functions are weaknesses, let's say. Always it will be linked to its working. Right. See how question they ask. Last year a question was asked, legislative control. On administration. Keeps it on its toes. This, I do not know the command, let me simply write comment. But that was a question last year in 2021 polity paper. No. This is a question last year polity paper, isn't it? Not aware? Yes? Yes. It is last year paper. Although I cannot. I have this paper. Anyhow, it was asked, I guess, last year or before that, 2020. Anyhow, last year they have asked, to what extent in your view, the parliament is able to ensure accountability of executive in India? This. To what extent parliament is able to ensure accountability of executive in India? To what extent? If you take this question. So this question you cannot answer unless you have some good points about what relationship between how executive has been held accountable by parliament. Do we have some positive good points, some negative good points? That demands working of parliament. You have to study and get some facts. Anyhow, what people will write, this is also a question asked. We know that people will write some legislative control on administration. They will not write at all how it keeps on its toes. What is perspective? Perspective is this: legislature, executive, administration. Right. You have to draw. So legislature exercises control on executive, executive exercises control on administration. It means legislature exercises indirect control on administration. This you have to show. Then how it will keep administration on its toes? This, it is discussion, motion, resolutions, etc. The way overall you talk about this, how it it keeps on toes. That becomes the perspective. And perspective will come only when you have this. This will give you perspective, otherwise answer is going to be nothing but compilation. And I will tell you, most of the people are writing a compiled answer. They are not writing answer. This. Because answer is a set of information rather than perspective. Anyhow, to keep it short, let's take next. Then we have to take other things that we told. Because not possible to talk everything. Are you trapped in brute force? I will tell most of the candidates are trapped in brute force. Brute force, what is brute force? First, daily answer writing practice. Right. Why? First is daily answer writing practice. Not your daily answer writing practice, market daily answer writing practice. Second is that you have set a target that I would write in 60 days these number of tests. You have set a target. You write not one place. आजकल एक कैंडिडेट एक जगह टेस्ट नहीं लिखता है. This. They write at multiple places tests. Right. This culture has happened. So I know it very well. And the multiple places they write tests. How you manage? Don't you get confused? So you want to know views of everyone? Where is your view? You want views of everyone, but where is your view? So recently one candidate met, he secured 80 in ethics paper. It was his second mains. In first mains he secured in ethics 70. He came with some copies, and copies, let's say that it is called fourth copy. Test 4 copy. He was making mistakes of test 1. When I asked that why you are repeating mistakes of test 1, he told that he last year set a target that he would have to write this number of tests. People are not even reading model answers. Discussion की तो बात ही छोड़ दो. Right, people do not attend discussion, they do not watch discussion, they don't have time, they have only time to write answers. So when they have only time to answers, when they will improve? And whether they are improving on their weak areas would always be this good knowledge, in-depth knowledge and insight of the topic. If I say कि should we have presidential form of government or parliamentary form of government, do you have a perspective on that? कि even if presidential form of government has some advantages over parliamentary form of government, not in terms of concept, rather on the basis of 70 years of working of both parliamentary democracy and presidential democracy all across society on the one hand, first, and second, on the other hand, some of the developments which have happened in recent times which have made any democracy responsible, like RTI, Citizen Charter, e-governance, globalization. So democracy, parliamentary democracy is based on responsible government concept. We thought that parliamentary democracy will be responsible only when there is a layer of control. Control by legislature over executive, executive by administration, a federal polity, a three-tier structure, then it would be responsible. But globalization had made democracy responsible. It has resulted into democratization. We have a 3-tier structure. RTI has made government responsible. So there are some developments which have made any democracy responsible. Even presidential democracy has also become responsible. And a presidential democracy has a threat for authoritarian government, but parliamentary democracy has also experienced authoritarianism. Even national emergency. So, what should be done? That is called perspective. Rather than reading Laxmikant, knowing some features of presidential form of the government, parliamentary form of government, and then knowing, no, parliamentary democracy is good for us, presidential democracy is not suitable for us. Why? And are you showing that 70 years of also development, or just it is a mechanical one? That is how we mean by, in the already articles have been written. It's not that several articles have been written in newspapers regarding that. Even if you read those articles, you get that perspective. So what we say is that brute force, try to understand. If I will show, time is, let's say that a problem. If you see already you have availability of those people who have got success, their copies. See the uniqueness of that person. And you will incorporate that person uniqueness. But what is your uniqueness? You have to bring your uniqueness. That will make you better. The brute force you should not follow. Just to go and write and test. Right. जिसका हमने कॉपी शो किया है जो क्वालिफाइड नहीं है, they have done lots of things now, but they have not improved their answers. Right. This answers still remain. Several points you keep writing. Unnecessary you write. Let's say point. People write first point, then one example. Point, then one example. When you will write concept? When you will write the basics? This. So, entire answer of cooperative federalism, it is not written one line, what is cooperative federalism? This. Entire answer of Manrega, it is not written one basic line. Manrega is for giving livelihood security to people. Right. Or whether people are writing, so those who are writing it is good. Why? Because we are more concerned about points. So there are missing links, let's say that. Missing links in the answer happen like this. Like it is brick. Are you arranging the brick properly? Right. This. Brick by brick जिसको बोलते हैं. Right. So when we are arranging this, we say it coherence. And we are not, so we say it as, right, lacking coherence. And that is how it will happen in brute force. Don't follow brute force. Yes, by chance you can get success. But by plan you will get success more than by chance. You must have your strategy for UPSC. Your strategy, if it suits to you, because I do not know you, nobody knows. You know yourself better. Somebody let's say that, so is talking mathematics optional. Somebody is talking anthropology optional. Somebody can have management optional. We cannot have a strategy for a mathematics optional and anthropology. The person has to devise a strategy for that. This. And that is how, let's say that, do not follow. This is a request that please do not follow brute force of writing tests everywhere. Write at least minimum, at least 2, let's say that. Yes, 2 places write tests, that can be adequate. But you must have your strategy and your plan. And you should learn from whatever the test you are writing, so that you should not recur the same mistakes in next test. But we will tell you that we have experienced that people have written even 10 tests, the answer of first test and answer of 10 tests has not improved much. much. Because the copy I have showed 2 persons, those who have not qualified, they have written test here for 2 years. Right. And we have been telling that you follow this, they are not following. Because they are following market forces. This. And then you realize after some time, that brute force is not working. Because it will work for only some people. No? By chance. अब by chance आपका selection हो गया. So that is how you should know that. Then it says, let's say that, how to overcome that. You should have your own plan and your own strategy. Think about when you listen to anyone's interview of a qualified candidate, he is sharing his strategy. And that strategy will have some newness. That's why every year people want to hear their strategy. Do they have newness? Do you find certain newness in their strategy? Different from, let's say, past year strategy? Right. So unless you have, let's say that 17th rank, she came and told that when she did not qualify for one's prelims, she still kept writing tests and she tried to learn from that, to keep oneself busy. And she also even tried to learn from the model answers. Another, what Abhinav is saying that for 5 years, how you motivated yourself? He said that I set target for every day. I set target for every day. So it means it shows that a person has the strategy for oneself. And that strategy you should execute. And that is how, let's say that you can overcome that. Then the question comes, should we follow commands of the question? Recently, another ranker came and she told that this year she followed commands and that's why she is, let's say, better than past year. Right. Commands. When we have commands in the question, okay, certainly let's say that some commands are common. They may not have much, which we say explain, elaborate, elucidate. This comment. They may not have much variation. Although let's say that there is a precondition. Elucidate means you have to explain with example. Example is a precondition. Then you can have some command like, let's say, discuss. So simply you have to give explanation, plus you can write a bit criticism on that. But then some commands, when we go examine, then it will have a different meaning. Evaluate, it will have a different meaning. And then critically evaluate. They also ask to what extent. And they also ask how far. These are the some way to ask. They are similar. So this demands pros and cons. Means it is fixed. Evaluate means you have to write pros and cons. Are you adhering to that? Not necessary. And in market, very less people know the exact meaning of the commands. Hence, students are confused. This. Anyhow, examine means scrutinize. So when you scrutinize something, when find positive and negative both. Right. This. So, see. A particular question is framed. Critically examined means question has been framed in negative way. You have to write upside down. So UPSC will not, let's say that, then there are, let's say that there is also analyze, another command we have. Analyze means in-depth analysis you have to give. Are you going in depth of that matter? So in brief, or what I can say in short, that commands must be adhered. If not all, let's say that this you are free to write. Suppose do not adhere. So what you should adhere is this. When you write elucidate, necessarily write examples. This evaluate, you adhere, write pros and cons. Write in depth. And certainly, let's say, reject the question which is given. How far you have to write? To some extent, or to large extent, but not in beginning. But people will not write at all. Either someone will write in yes, beginning itself, to some extent I agree. You have concluded. Question is saying how far do you agree? So you have to write towards end. To some extent it can be agreed. To large extent it can be agreed. Right. Or otherwise, let's say it will be considered you have missed the point at all. What people are doing? Brute force. All any command same answer. और उसके बाद कुछ लोग क्वालिफाई हो गए और उन्होंने बोला हमने तो फॉलो ही नहीं किया. And then they have become trained. So they have become trained because they have not followed. They say they have not followed, they have qualified. You will also not, let's say you should also not follow, you will also qualify, but it is not going to happen. Because if there are 700 persons qualifying, certainly let's say that 100 persons are qualifying in which they may not deserve. Right. This, but it is flaw of the examination. So even let's say just pray that you also become part of that flaw. So whether you want to be part of 600 or you want to be part of 100, you can decide yourself. Yes. Critically evaluate. Whenever we have critically evaluate or critically examine, the question has been framed in a negative way first. Right. Like say I can tell that this way, that cooperative federalism is a recent development in parliamentary democracy. Critically evaluate. The question is negative. It is not a recent development. So you have to write first about cooperative federalism. Then you have to, after writing basics, then you have to write that cooperative federalism is not a recent development. Right. It is a development which starts with framing of the constitution itself. So just let me finish. It means that you are rejecting the question. You are not necessarily criticizing. You are taking a stand on that question. The critically evaluate means rejection of the given proposition of the question plus taking a stand. This.
So there was one question which talked about the farmer scheme that's starting on. So we are coming up with that. The farmer.
This is?
So it was about the question asked critically analyze.
No. There are different. Since I don't have time much left, I am running out of this. I will not go in details of that. But let me tell that critically analyze has a different meaning. Critically evaluate and critically examine, they have the same meaning. But the day you ask critically analyze, it has an entirely different meaning. First. Then, critically examine when it is written after end of the question. It means what we are saying. When critically examine is written before beginning of the question, it means you have to write pros and cons. This. So that is how let's say that command. So when we say critically examines, it means a given proposition is not right, you have to make it right. Right. Critically analyze means you have to give in-depth analysis with facts. Right. This. Like say we say parliamentary democracy in recent years has suffered. This. Our Indian parliamentary democracy is experiencing, right, a trend known as the diminishing trend, or there is a diminishing trend of Indian parliamentary democracy. Critically analyze. So this given question is correct. It is not framed in such a fashion that it is not correct. It is correct. Now they say critically analyze. It means what are those factors which have resulted into diminishing trend, and are you exactly depicting those factors? Because they have kept in mind while framing this question that students will depict exactly those factors. If your answer does not exactly depict those factors which have resulted into diminishing trend, your answer will lack quality. When commands are written of the question, answers are in mind. Which particular type of answer you are supposed to write, especially in some commands, if not all. Right. And that is how, let's say, one should follow. This you can say. Then what consists of a good answer? Good answer means you follow the basic standards of answer writing, intro, body, conclusion first. Second is that it is answered in the context of question and as per command of question, including the key term of the question is also answered as per the demand. So there is a context, there is a command, there is a demand. A question can have one key term, 2-3 key terms, depending. A question may focus what we are writing, how people are writing answers. The people give equal weightage to all. Equal weightage. Right. This you will find that. So I guess I have not written in wrong fashion. Equal weightage. Right. Means you are focusing on in one answer all parts equally. No. If you are writing any answer, so what your people are doing? They are focusing on answer is a uniform answer. But answer can focus on some area more than some other areas. Like say we ask that how legislature has made executive accountable. Accountable? The question asks, so how legislature has made executive accountable? Are you focusing on accountable area? Are you writing a general answer? Legislature, how it makes executive accountable, features, pros, cons, focus is lacking on accountability. Right. So that problem also we find. Means let's say that a good answer is not a scholarly answer. A good answer is not the example you have written. A good answer is not you have linked to current. A good answer is that whether you have answered as per the command, demand and context of the question. And you have exactly proved what the question is asking. Right. It has nothing to do with example, this and that, which is a market philosophy. Right. You write example, answer is wrong. You write example, content is wrong. You write example, accountability you are not able to define. So what use it is? Like the same question, regulatory question we have asked, she is not able to define what is regulation. And you can write some good examples. Right. So that is what you should understand. How to optimize limited time. Consolidation. Consolidation of your preparation. That is how it is. So when you consolidate your preparation of 4 papers, optional, in such a fashion that you have very integrated manner of preparation, so that will, let's say, that can minimize your time, as we have mentioned in past. Right. Second, don't get entangled with the things you have not done or the things you think that you may not do. Right. This, like unnecessary giving so much time to a particular topic. This, or procrastination, let's say, or lack of revision, let's say that. So you should be a good finisher, that is how it is called. Cricket ke language mein you know that you should be a good finisher. Right. So because as we told that in 20 questions, 10 you have to do better. Right. Rest 5 you are writing average, rest 5 you are trying to finish anyhow. So you should be a good finisher rather than, let's say, taking things and being overburdened by that. So consolidation of your preparation, strategy and optional and GS and essay, that can, let's say, that can optimize. This you can say that. And role of current developments. Current developments have their role, right, in all types of questions, especially when we try to establish link and we have to substantiate our answer. Some questions are current based that I don't have to tell it, but let's say that when we have to substantiate, prove any such point, so that demands also, you should be aware about the current developments which you can link with the topic given. Many a time a conventional topic has also been asked simply because there was something related to that topic development. When you establish a link, you strike a chord with that. That is how we can see this. And motivation and perseverance. Don't get overburdened by all these things. Right? Rather to be yourself what you are. Every person has, if a person is qualifying prelims, it means he deserves to write mains. So you should tell to yourself that you deserve to write mains. So you should have self-confidence. First. Second, that mains examination is about two things: revision and answer writing. This. You have to revise your subjects, you have to write answers. Right. So if you are giving more and more space for your thinking, procrastination will happen, negative things will come, and you will start thinking about your weaknesses and many other things. So occupy yourself for 60 days in such a fashion, you don't have time to think about negative things. Right. Rather, you set the target that in 60 days, I have to cover my syllabus, I have to revise, I don't have time to talk to people, you have time to talk to subject. This. And once you have decided your strategy, execute it. Right. Whatever the strategy you should decide, and strategy should be decided as per your strength and weakness. That the plan should be workable plan. Rather than the plan is so, let's say, overwhelming, so comprehensive that you are after 1 month, let's say, not in a position to execute. So you should chart out a workable plan which you can execute, because even an average plan which is executed well is better than a good plan not executed. And problem which we will face in execution is overthinking. That overthinking or thinking about your negative aspects, and that will not bring perseverance. If you are able to execute even average, whatever the subject you have, you may have already studied. You have to revise them. Some of the subjects you are good at. Certainly you will be good at some subjects. ऐसे ही आप यहाँ तक नहीं आ गए. So you have some subjects which you are good at, then optional. You also know that luck factor also plays important role. There are so many things, plus success ratio right, in mains is much better than success ratio in prelims. That should give you confidence that you also have a chance in this. Right? And that is how you should motivate yourself and maintain continuity and consistency. This is how I can say on my side. Critically examine, someone has written, examine the aims and objectives of Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Here critically examine means you have to write pros and cons basically. Critique it. Write something that whatever it's, let's say that aims and objective, why it was set up, and when it was set up, then it's a setup. So whether the setup has any flaws, whether its aims and objectives have some flaws, those flaws you have to write basically. So when a question is asked before, let's say it is like critically examine the aims and objectives. Then here you have to write basically critic. But the same we write other let's say end, then you have to change the question. The same question we cannot ask. Right. So I'll finish here. Yes, any question that you have? Do you have any question? Yes.
Everybody is telling to target only 45% of marks out of 100 given question.
Yes. Then why they are saying?
Why they are saying?
Yes, because you cannot retain, you cannot train, you cannot write. In 60 days, what you will do? Human has a capacity, limited capacity. That's why we told that you have to target your preparation, target the topics, prepare the expected line, which will minimize your efforts. That's why we know that people do not even cover 60 to 70% of the syllabus. Why? Syllabus coverage means what? Your knowledge about a topic should be proper and complete. But knowledge about, I told you that she is writing second time, let's say third time mains, and she is not able to define what is regulation. I know many people do not know what is quasi-judicial body. They consider that any body which has a civil court, it is a quasi-judicial body. It is a wrong knowledge. And they end up giving wrong example. So first you think yourself, do you have standardized knowledge? Right. And then let's say if someone is writing governance, do you have a standardized definition of governance? Are you able to write what is governance? So that is how problem lies, let's say that. So you have to seek whether your level of knowledge is standardized one as per the demand of UPSC. We are not saying it should be scholarly, it should be as per demand of UPSC. That you are able to do justice. Like when they say what is corporate governance, you are exactly able to define it. Even if you are not able to define corporate governance. So see, then what you can do? The syllabus, covering syllabus, the syllabus topics are limited. The subtopics are not mentioned. Right. The topic is mentioned only parliament, but subtopics you know that it is 50 topics parliament will have. So whether you cover that, this way we can see this. So that is how we'll say it. So we'll finish, I will finish, so Abhijit will join it. All the best. Right?
How many of have you seen the paper this year? And what you have realized after seeing the paper? No one? See, this year, modern India was of three parts, three questions. One 20 marker and two other 10 markers. Post-independence was only one question. World history was one question. Art and culture was one question. So you see that every year the number marks and marking pattern is changing. Last year there was 4 questions from art and culture. This year there was only one question. Last year the information asked was very specific. Now this year the information wanted to answer you on a very general patterns. General pattern means that there was this question that identify the basic characteristics of bhakti movement. Now before that there was a question in 2018, it asked you about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Before that, Bhakti movement in Maharashtra. Now you see that every question was combined in one. So you see that we had this tendency to read the sectional part. Bhakti movement, okay, we will remember Guru Nanak Dev, we will remember Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Kabir Das and everyone. What are the general tendencies? See, you have to answer it from 8th century to 16th century. So you have to identify some common basic characteristics for understanding and answering the question. Just let me open the pages. And you page open karna. This paper. PDF. You see, this is the pattern of this year. There were 6 questions from society. Okay. 6 questions from society this year, and the questions were society. Examine the uniqueness of tribal knowledge system when compared with mainstream knowledge. So if you have followed the newspaper last year and during the times of COVID, the resilience of tribal culture in understanding, or not only in COVID, even during the sustainable movement, the resilience has been always in the news, be it in the Yojana or be it in the newspaper. So that knowledge, when applied to it, the mainstream knowledge, you have to compare it, and in that comparison you have to identify it. So, and in that also, if you will try to analyze it into deeply, some conventional part like globalization, the impact of globalization on the tribal knowledge system can also be analyzed in this part. For example, you see that tribal society used to be an egalitarian society. Now that is changing. There is emergence of class in the tribal society also. So that tribal knowledge, uniqueness of tribal knowledge, and how it is been when compared with the mainstream knowledge and cultural system. So this was from the newspaper. You see, if you will try to analyze the syllabus of the society section particularly, then you will realize that all elements are conventional, and hardly there was one question in this year paper which was asked in a conventional sense. Otherwise everything was from the newspaper. So the sources, ultimately, as I was saying, that it is the newspaper. You don't have to worry about, that we have to read this and that. You have to focus on the newspaper one. 2, in society section, if you will analyze, then the structure or the way with the question is asked, this was relatively this year. Last year in 2020, there were many students who were of the opinion that the language of the society question is not, we are not able to understand the language of the society question. So you see that conventional along with the newspaper application, because as I was saying that this element incorporates globalization vis-a-vis tribal culture. Clear? Now coming to the second question, examine the role of gig economy in the process of empowerment of women. So what is gig economy? Shared resources, na? So shared resources and how it is helping the empowerment of women. You see that certain constraints were there, women empowerment, women organization, that part from the newspaper, shared resources, work from home, everything. See, these 2 sections, it is very easy to score in history as well as in society. But at the same time, you have to have some basic understanding along with the novelty. Do you understand what is the meaning of novelty? Novelty means what is the element of newness that you are incorporating in your answer. That is very important. And what is the first point? Priority of the points. See, we have this tendency to write the answers, as the point comes to our mind. But what is the most important point which we will write while answering the question? The gig economy.
First, we need to know what is the gig economy and what are the
So that will be the introduction, will be the, what is gig economy. But what is the impact on women? Empowerment. Is it empowering them or is it disempowering them? These two, there will be these two main line of argument, empowerment and disempowerment. And if it is empowering them, then how it is empowering them? So what will be the first heading?
economic individuality will come.
You see that work from home to safety environment, okay, glass ceiling. So all these points you have to address, but at the same time disempowerment. So there is no social security. Job security is must. But do you think that there is job security in gig economy? There were only one state in India, there is only one state in India which have brought some form of litigation in 2019, Telangana basically, where the gig economy workers were provided the social security. But as of now, no other state has brought such kind of litigations or legislations. So these are the things. See, again, newspaper plus what were the conventional problem. Okay. Third question. What are the main socio-economic implications arising out of the development of IT industries in major part of India? Somehow, again, this was in the newspaper during the yes. Yes. See, any question can have two implications, na, positive as well as negative. And as you were saying, that process of examine is the keyword. Now you have to see the keyword. What is examine? In case of examine, you have to write both the aspect. So focus on the keyword is also very important, isn't it? See, working from home or sharing the resources, like in case of Airbnb, we are sharing the resources of Airbnb, isn't it, for hotel industries. But there are many cases, not only in India but also in other parts of the country, where violence was registered against the gig economy worker in Airbnb, the owner. I believe that there is a website or app called Couchsurfing, and this was in the news. Couchsurfing is another platform, gig economy platform, where the rooms and hotels are rented, and there were so many cases of violence against the women and that platform also. Further, you see that I believe that last month there was a news that there is a high rate of retrenchment in the Uber, Ola, or for that matter any of the gig economy platform for the male worker. That's why they are substituting the male worker with the female worker. Nowadays you will also see the women driving the cab in Delhi. Though it is rare, but you will find the same name. But again, there is no social security. So, in case of any untoward incidents, it will negate the benefits. One case and people will start withdrawing their woman, wife, sister or family member from such kind of platform. Hire and fire policy has always impacted the woman adversely. You see that if you want to go into the detail, then you have to compare it with the SHGs and such other thing, but there is no need to do that. Broader point which is in the newspaper and the examples which are impactful, means what is the first example that you will think of while talking about the gig economy worker? Retrenchment, attrition, isn't it? These are the two factors. There was certain reports of World Economic Forum. This question was related with that only, and it was very much in the newspaper. So last year there was a deviance, particularly from the the UPSC, the questions that UPSC used to ask. Like every year there was a question from communalism, fundamentalism, regionalism. So such part was missing. So what I wanted to emphasize that there is no fixed pattern, particularly for the society in the UPSC. Probably some year it will be from the conventional part, or some other year it will be from the current affair part. Okay, but if you have your basics controlled, consolidated, then the society section is very easy to score. The analysis part, see, society is current affair based. History to some extent is current affair based, but you have to identify the pattern. Like Bhakti, everything was asked, so they asked the general characteristics. We will discuss that, but we will discuss the society part first. Now, what are the main socio-economic implications arising out of the development in major cities of India? I believe that last year there was a report that living cost is very high in IT sector. So we are supposed to shift some of the IT sectors to class B, type B and type C cities also. Development of major cities of India, though equality, gender parity, you have to be very specific that you are using the social language. You can have this question analyzed in the economic framework also, but we have to focus upon the social aspect. So how the relation between gender, within the gender and outside the gender is changing. Clear? That what is the economic parity and what is the implication of that on the family system? Isn't there mass migration from type B to bigger cities, Bangalore, Chennai? So what is the social aspect? See, probably if aspirational district program is asked in society, then you don't have to write it from the political or economical angle. You have to write it exactly within the social context. And there was a question aspirational district program, I believe in 2019, analyze aspirational district program in societal part. So you have to write it from the what is the impact on the social aspect, what will be the impact on tribes, women and minorities, backward classes. Okay. Population education and point out the measures to achieve them in detail. Population education. So, what will be the broader line of the argument? See, what was the population policy of India from 1947 till 1988? Population policy. See, population was considered as a medico-technical problem in India. So the policy was formulated in that aspect only. The emphasis was not on that how to control the population, but what are the lacunas or the problems because of which we are not able to control the population, and it was identified medical problem, one, and two, technical problem. That's why camps and everything such thing was organized. But it was never considered as a social problem. So after 1988, such policy has changed and it was identified as a social problem. So poverty, nutrition and such other aspects were issued and helped and formulated in the overall policy discourse. So population education, region, population policy last year, Uttar Pradesh, everyone was bringing some kind of population policy. Yes. So population education, we are again making it very specific. Education. What we are talking about, awareness. Isn't it? And see, that population still is not considered in certain working class segment as the problem. Why? Because more economic hand will benefit them. This is the basic presumption. Achieve them in, see, this is completely fact based and such. You have to analyze from 1947 till now, and in between you have to criticize the new, not criticize, balance the newer population policies, but you have to give a historic detail. If you want to write, if any of you is from sociology optional here, then there is so much thing to write in this question, but we have to write it in a very generic way. And we have to include many points. I'm not here to discuss, the paper here. What my emphasis is that, how it is changing over the years. So that's why I'm not going into the detail. Cryptocurrency, how does it affect global society? Has it been affecting the Indian society also? Last year there was cryptocurrency. In fact, it has been in the news from lockdown itself. So what is cryptocurrency? Answer only in the social context. First of all, what is currency itself? Not cryptocurrency, what is currency itself? One, two, widely accepted. That is the thing, it is some system of exchange, no? Currency is some system of exchange, and most importantly, it includes the element of trust. Trust, because if I will give you certain currency, you will only accept it if you will have trust. Okay, so these are the things, social element of it, and it is regulated by the government. But in case of cryptocurrency, such a regulation is missing. And the aspiration of the people and the no control regulation, the lack of a regulation by the government has, in India, many people invested in the cryptocurrency in hope of enemy of infinite aspiration, that they will get richer in a very sooner or in very limited time. Okay, so that part, see the regulation part, global society, that how the relationship between the government and citizen is changing, that part. Because right now the exchange is taking place from people to people without any regulation from the government. So it will certainly have a bearing on the society, isn't it? Are you understanding? So that first two part are addressed by this, as it has been affecting Indian society also. You see that nearly every Bollywood celebrity started advertising for the cryptocurrencies, and RBI ultimately said that don't promote it this sooner. So the problem, what was the problem? You have seen that many people have lost their savings in the cryptocurrency. Two, crime syndicates is also increasing. Illegal money transactions and such other things are also increasing. Largely it is the part of the social, but what is the impact on the overall social dynamics?
The person will get money, more interest.
Not in the economic sense. Extreme poverty, mobility is happening at a faster pace, but at the same time downward mobility is also witnessed in the society, those people who have lost their savings, isn't it? So largely you see that society part was completely application based, except this question, that how Indian society maintain continuity in traditional social values. And this is a question which asked which is asked by UPSC in different forms along the years, in every year or maybe every 2 years. Continuity and tradition in the Indian society. Caste is one example. Gender is another example. Culture is third example. See, basically what they want to, or how you are supposed to rate is that you have to rate that there is a presence of collectivity as well as individualism, isn't it? Caste politics is an example of modernity and tradition, change and continuity. We are voting for the development, but we have developed caste as a pressure group or identity group or associational group. So rather than just writing the question only on the basis of examples, just try to identify some common traits. This will be heading and you can write different thing in this. Individualism. Women are working. They have broken their shackles of the home, or they are working outside their boundary. But at the same time, when it comes to marriage, it is within the caste, intra-caste marriage. It is not inter-caste marriage. There is hardly any percentage, 3%. Though it is increasing, but it has 3% of all the marriage in 2019 were of inter-caste in nature. So you see again tradition and continuity is continuing. Why? Because in itself, India is a continuous civilization. There is element of continuity always. Larger social structure, religion, caste, gender hasn't changed much. Only the peripheral value that was associated, that is, the materialistic value is being included in the mainstream culture. Clear? See, job, education for just commodity purpose is peripheral. That how much you are changing with the education, that is also important, but we are not changing. What we are saying that we will earn money, but the basic value premise, everything is same. We are not being individualized, we are still thinking as a collective, holistic, in a collective and holistic manner. So the transcendence of the karma, the religion, is still being witnessed and professed in the Indian society. Yet the materialistic culture, due to globalization and continuous interaction between the different culture, is changing the society also. Maybe they will come a time, but right now this is the case. So you see that out of 6 questions, 5 questions were from current affairs, and in 1 question you have to apply the current affairs. This is completely conventional question in the nature. Okay. Now coming to the history and art and culture. Bhakti literature and its contribution to Indian culture. So you have to code or probably try to classify it into different groupings, in the 8th to 10th century or 12th century, and trace the rise and growth of socio-religious reform movement with special reference to Young Bengal and Brahmo Samaj. Now just tell me, what is the similarity between or difference between Young Bengal and Brahmo Samaj? Young Bengal movement is associated with? And Brahmo Samaj? So what is the difference? What was the outlook of Henry Vivian Thoreau? The radical, extreme radical. He promoted beef eating, okay, and English culture. And this one, Brahmo Samaj? Reform movement. Okay, so you see that they want you to compare a complete different type of outlook. So trace the rise and growth of socio-religious reform movement with special reference to. So you have to show them that how middle class contributed to the rise and growth, and what was the role of Raja Ram Mohan Roy and 100 BB in the ratio. So you have to write nearly 4 or 5 points about that how Western colonialism contributed, British civilization contributed to the rise of socio-cultural reform movement, and how Indian intelligentsia tried to mold it into different way, and what was the role of the ratio. So you have to write between different groupings, the subgroupings that developed after it. So you see that socio reforms movement was asked again, but you see that very specific information, trace and growth, and you have to compare, you have to give a comparative answer of two different movements in 10 marker question. So now it will only happen, or you will only be able to write this question if you will have control over your content. 2, that there should be a mixture of paragraph as well as bullet point. Yes. See, again, this question was based on timeline, this question is based on timeline, this question is based on timeline. So if we have this habit of reading GS in fragmented approach, that we will remember this point, and points wide approach, that will not suffice. You have to develop an overall understanding of the GS. Overall understanding, not probably Santhal Paragana movement happened. So what was the nature of the tribal movement in India? And what is the nature of the Birsa movement, Birsa Munda movement or Santhal Paragana movement? So tribal movement and Birsa Munda movement, though, you have to identify what is the general characteristic. Clear? Even the third question, assess the main administrative issues. Administrative issues, Junagadh, Hyderabad, Kashmir, and what was done? Rajagopalachari was, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel in the princely state. So different people from that particular state was appointed as the commissioner, special commissioner in such other parts. So you have to identify that administrative issues. And socio-cultural aspect, most important, what is the most important socio-cultural aspect? Religion. So first point will be religion. Second, language, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu. Language is another important point. Caste, Ijavas, Kerala. Okay, Karnataka. Ethnicity, Jaspal Munda, Jharkhand, Bihar, Jharkhand. Okay, so you have to identify on the sea that tribal movement was not that important, or it was important but special provision was made, so it can come last. But the main important point, religion, language. Okay, so you have to identify the primacy of the point. Fourth, to what extent the role of moderate prepare easy question? This was one of the easiest question. The role of Gopal Krishna Gokhale, Dadabhai Naoroji, following in the chronological order, Dadabhai Naoroji, Gopal Krishna Gokhale, and the subsequent role of what the people, but their failure, their success, 1892 reforms. So, again, this is point based question and generally available across the book. So this was bring out the constructive program of Mahatma Gandhi during non-cooperation movement, centenary of the non-cooperation movement. So this was expected. So, but they ask the lesser important point. Everybody was asking about the Mopila or Khilafat and failure of the non-cooperation movement, but they focused on some lesser non-aspect or what we consider as insignificant. But again, this was not tough question per se, isn't it? Bring out the constructive programs of Mahatma Gandhi, serious democratic system between two world wars. See the framing of the question and the crisis in Europe, the democratic crisis in Europe. There is a democratic crisis right now in the Europe. So you see rise of Hitler, the empire of the USSR, the role of the Britain, France in Hitler, Mussolini and such other people. But at the same time, you have to also highlight and talk about the Atlantic Charter and such other thing. So though from world history, but again there was no specific time limit. You have to identify a basic characteristics between 1921 to 1939. So largely, though generic, it can be made very specific, but you have to have control over the facts. So you see, at least in art and culture, history and society, particularly in society, that you have to learn from the newspaper and focus on the newspaper along with whatever book you are preferring, Ramahuja or whatever book. To history, you have to identify the timeline. This year, maybe Chauri Chara can be important and such event. So you have to identify the timeline, 100, 150 years, though generic, but you have to have the basic understanding, and apart from that, a general sense of understanding. Control over fact and control over the specific criteria. Okay, art and culture, there is no fixed pattern, anything can be asked. Okay, so particularly the basic source that you are referring in history and art and culture will suffice. In society, you have to focus upon the newspaper, and if you are just referring some coaching material notes for understanding the GS, then at least for the society section, refer the newspaper also. Because you will get the news, but the story can only be got from the newspaper. And that's, for example, gig economy, IT sector worker, these are the stories which you will get from the newspaper, so that it can be used as an example. Okay, so refer the newspaper also. Now, if you haven't these 90 days, you can skip it, but just try to look into the examples or anything which was in the news for a longer period of time or which shook the collective consciousness of the people. Okay. So that's all from the history and society, art and culture section. Any questions? Durgesh? Fine? Okay.
Welcome to LUKMAAN IAS. Study General Studies with LUKMAAN IAS for building comprehensive knowledge. GS paper 2 and 4 will be taken by S. Ansari and other papers will be covered by renowned faculties. Live classes are as effective as offline classes. The classes are highly interactive in nature. Your doubts and queries will be addressed and there will be dictation of notes. In the last 10 years, LUKMAAN IAS has set up a niche in the field of UPSC guidance.
Yes, good evening everyone. Okay, so let us continue now the discussion of GS3 paper and the geography part of GS1 paper. So in this part, what we are going to understand is how the questions are being asked in different sections of GS3 paper. We know that there are total 5 sections in the GS 3 paper in the syllabus part and what weightage is given by UPSC. In last 5 years, we have done that analysis, we will talk about that, and then we will also discuss this year's question paper briefly, and we will try to understand why these questions were asked, how they relate to our syllabus, and we will try to understand if there is any current or contemporary relevance of those questions. And then key takeaways we will find out, so how we should prepare for this GS3 paper as well as geography paper. Okay, so first of all what we will do is we will do the trend analysis. In GS3 paper, we know that there are 5 subjects we can say. First is Indian economy part, second is science and technology part, third environment section, fourth disaster and disaster management, and fifth internal security. Okay, and how much weightage is given by UPSC in last 5 years, including recent 2021. So first of all you can see Indian economy, 100 marks, last year 100 marks, previous to that. So you can see that consistently UPSC is asking 4 questions for 10 markers and 4 questions of 15 markers for economy section, from the economy section. So it is pretty much clear that every year UPSC will ask 100 marks questions from economy part. So it is one of the major section we can say of GS3 paper, and we have to prepare it in a very strong manner, and there is elaborated description of the syllabus for the economy part also. We will see the syllabus, we will try to find out this year's questions, how they relate to syllabus topics. Second, science and technology. Now you can see that the marks allocated to these 3 sections, which are these science and technology, disaster management and environment section, they have been changing continuously. इन तीनों में बहुत सारी changes करता है UPSC, and you can see in internal security part constantly 50 marks weightage is given out of 250 marks in GS3. 2 questions 10 markers and 2 questions 15 markers for internal security, and that has been the trend continuously you can see in last 5 years. And for disaster management you can see there are many times 1 question 15 marker, 1 10 marker, or only 1 question 15 marker, again you can see 1 10 marker and 1 15 markers, or only 1 15 marker. So the weightage for disaster management is very less comparatively among these 5. Now science and technology and environment section 40 35 50 35 50 25, this is how the weightage is changing here between these 2. Sometimes there will be more questions for science and tech and comparatively less questions in environment section, या फिर कभी environment section को ज़्यादा weightage देते हैं 50 marks, तो science and tech का कम कर देते हैं. This is how they are mixing up within these 3 subsections. But what is fixed? 150 marks is fixed, and that is economy and internal security part. So more weightage is also there, 50 marks is fixed and 100 marks. So one thing is pretty much sure that in first 10 questions, 4 questions will be always of economy, and last 2 questions will be always of internal security. In next 10 questions, 11 to 20, 15 markers, first 4 questions will be from economy, last 2 questions from the internal security, and this has been the constant we can say scheme of questions asked by the UPSC. Fine. So from this trend it should be very much clear how much inputs that we need to give for preparation of this subject, and we should do cost benefit analysis here, right? Yes. Now look at the syllabus, and from that syllabus itself you will understand that how descriptive the economy syllabus is mentioned here, and you will see from the previous year questions I will show how they directly relate to our syllabus topics from the economy section. Okay, so we will find out that an elaborate syllabus is mentioned, and you can see the nature of questions that are asked or the areas of questions that are asked in the mains examination. Largely they are different as compared to prelims examination. So recently we have done analysis of prelims examination. you can see that it is available at LUKMAAN IAS YouTube channel, and there we have seen the economy section specifically is having concept based and application of those concepts like inflation or different we can say monetary aspect, monetary policy aspect, banking sector, वो question पूछते हैं. But in mains examination, whatever the syllabus topics are there, they are like government budgeting, inclusive growth, GDP and national income accounting, planning section, land reforms और we can say infrastructure. ये question prelims में नहीं आते इस topics के ऊपर. So likewise we should prepare for separately for prelims and mains whenever we are reading economy part. ठीक है, आप जो भी reference book पढ़ रहे हैं, आप अगर कोई भी क्लास के नोट्स पढ़ते हैं या कोई मतलब इकोनॉमी का अगर बुक पढ़ते हैं, राइट, सो वी हैव द बुक बाय श्रीराम, वी हैव द डिफरेंट मैग्रो हिल पब्लिकेशन बुक इज आल्सो देयर. सो in that book what is to be read for prelims examination and for mains examination, you should understand it, and for that purpose you should always keep syllabus in front of you. So this is first part, economy section. Then you can see the science and technology section, only 3 lines are mentioned. So weightage is less though, so 30-40 marks weightage is there, and you can see that science and technology part itself mentions about largely the application of scientific developments and the technological developments. Complete syllabus you can see that science and technology developments and their applications in everyday life. Achievements of Indians in science and technology, indigenization of technology. Then awareness in the field of IT, space, computer, robotics, nanotechnology, biotechnology and issues related to intellectual property right. हर साल जो क्वेश्चन आता है वो इसी सिलेबस टॉपिक से आता है. Okay, so some of the technologies they may not have mentioned here, like nuclear technology, defense technology. They ask questions from those technologies also, but you should understand here it is talking about all types of technologies. Okay, it includes the emerging technologies also like blockchain technology. Right, so applications part largely they are asking in mains examination. They will not ask about the basics of that technology, explain how this technology works. तो वो prelims में question ज़्यादातर आ सकता है उस तरीके से. So this is we can say science and technology. Now look at the syllabus of these two sections: conservation, environment pollution, degradation and environmental impact assessment. 4 words है, उसी के ऊपर question आता है. So conservation, like for example they will ask question on we can say biodiversity act, or they can ask question on water conservation practices. So it is part of conservation or species conservation and all. Environmental pollution and degradation. Every year UPSC asks question on environmental pollution and degradation. They will ask about the environmental air pollution. They will ask about water pollution, radioactive pollution or different kinds of pollution and how it is impacting the people or overall climate or surrounding environment. And at the same time you should understand what government steps the government is taking steps. Like in 2019 there was question National Clean Air Program they asked. This year what they asked, the we can say World Health Organization's global air pollution norms, they have been updated. 2005 में जो थे और 2000 अभी जो 15 में 2021 में अपडेट जो हुए हैं तो उसका कंपैरिजन उन्होंने पूछा है यहाँ पर this year. So it is related to environment pollution. It was there in mainstream media. We have discussed this in the Hindu newspaper also. The comparative aspect. Okay. Then disaster and disaster management. One more thing, let me tell you that environment impact assessment. Those who are let's say preparing for last 2 years, they must be aware about draft EIA guidelines or notification of 2020. It was so much in news during the pandemic times, initial times of pandemic. तो उस टाइम पे बहुत ज़्यादा उस पर डिबेट चल रहा था. And that year itself in mains examination UPSC asked question on that, and that too we had covered that topic in ED lectures in detail, and exactly the same question was asked what we have covered, comparison between the earlier EIA 2006 and the draft notification 2020. Comparative. So this is how I am telling you the relevance what we are doing at Lukman IAS. I am simultaneously explaining you how it is relevant to your examination. Now disaster and disaster management. Only two words are mentioned, but every year there will be question. Now the nature of question that are being asked here, we will try to find out, but I am briefly giving you idea किस तरीके से question आता है इस syllabus topic पे. So either question will be on the nature of disaster, that is causes of disaster, consequences of disaster or impact of that disaster, or let's say the second part of the question will be like what government is doing, what are the NDMA guidelines, what should be the measures that should be taken to deal with that disaster. So disaster management part, second part. And third is the disaster management machinery in the country, that is institutional and legal framework for disaster management in the country. Okay, so that part is very important. From that part only the question are asked. And lastly, we should know that what are the international frameworks, like Hugo framework was there earlier and then it was replaced by Sendai framework. So UPSC asked question on Sendai framework. So ये चार चीजों के बाहर question नहीं जाता है. So the different types of disaster you should know. You prepare some notes of this causes, consequences, and what government is doing, what things needs to be done further. ठीक है, एनडीएमए के गाइडलाइंस क्या है उसके ऊपर एक पेज का हर एक डिजास्टर का नोट बना के रखिए. लीगल एंड इंस्टीट्यूशनल फ्रेमवर्क का एक नोट बना के रखिए. सो व्हाट इज एनडीएमए, एसडीएमए, डीडीएमए फ्रेमवर्क, डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट एक्ट 2005, इट्स प्रोविजंस, ये सारी चीजें यहाँ पे आएगी. इसके बाहर क्वेश्चन नहीं जाता है. ओके, देन linkages between development. Now we are shifting to internal security part, and you can see it is also quite descriptive syllabus, and 50 marks are dedicated for this. Now in this part of syllabus only two types of questions are asked, and even I am telling you how they are framed. We will talk about we will see the examples simultaneously now. So here the question will be either explaining the causes. They will ask about the causes of these challenges like Naxalism, insurgency in Northeast, or terrorism, militancy in Jammu and Kashmir. They will ask the causes, root causes, and then consequences. This will be the first part of question. And in second part, what the government measures, government is taking measures to deal with this, and what more measures are required to deal with this challenge. यही टाइप का क्वेश्चन होता है सिलेबस टॉपिक के ऊपर. Okay, so we will see some examples before discussing this year's question paper, because we are talking static part. ठीक है. So simultaneously I am going to show you the nature of questions. So first of all, the economic development part. So UPSC has some favorite topics. I wanted to tell you this part. UPSC has some favorite topics to ask from. Like every year almost UPSC asks question related to GDP, either from basics or some current developments related to that, right? So what they asked this year, this was explain the difference between computing methodology of India's GDP before year 2015, after year 2015, right? So this was the question related to basics. It is covered in NCERT itself. जो आपका 12th स्टैंडर्ड का एनसीईआरटी आप फॉलो करते हैं, मैक्रो इकोनॉमिक्स, देयर इटसेल्फ इट इज एक्सप्लेन्ड व्हाट इज द डिफरेंस. सो क्वेश्चन इज फ्रॉम बेसिक्स, और देयर कैन बी क्वेश्चन रिलेटेड टू जीडीपी ऑन कॉन्सेप्ट बेसिस, लाइक डिफाइन द पोटेंशियल जीडीपी लास्ट ईयर, एक्सप्लेन इट्स डिटर्मिनेंट्स, what are the factors that have been inhibiting India from realizing the potential GDP, right? So you can see that almost every year, 2019, do you agree with the view that steady GDP growth and low inflation have left the Indian economy in good shape? Give reasons in support. Now this is related to contemporary developments, right? So it is not asking about the basics of GDP, contemporary developments of Indian economy. This is how the nature of question is there, and some topics are favorite. For example, inclusive growth. Now I am showing you some example. We will provide this PDF where we have done the analysis of topic wise analysis of all let's say subsections of GS3 paper. ठीक है, और ज्योग्राफी का भी किया हुआ है. सो दैट विल बी वेरी हेल्पफुल. कीप दिस एनालिसिस ऑलवेज इन फ्रंट ऑफ यू ऑन द टेबल. PYQs, previous year questions, and syllabus. This should be always in front of you while doing the preparation. Inclusive growth 2019, 20, 21. Straightforward questions they are asking on inclusive growth. Okay, syllabus topic is there, inclusive growth. Now every year UPSC also asks question almost on government budgeting, syllabus topic. You can see 2019, 18, 21. And they are asking basics, because government budgeting is basic part, no? We learn in polity also, right? So prepare some kind of basics. What is capital expenditure, revenue received, capital received. ये सारी चीजें तैयार करके रखिए. Conceptual clarity, how budget is prepared from start to end. जहाँ से मतलब शुरू होता है budget making process, and in the end how the budget is passed in the parliament. That procedure you should know. That area is, we are still expecting question will be asked here. Okay, so budgeting is there. Now some favorite areas of question that UPSC asks is we can say especially the taxation. 2019 और 20 में continuously GST पे question आया है. Although GST was introduced in 2017, so ये देख सकते हैं आप 101st amendment to remove cascade effect, again GST. यहाँ पे देखिए, discuss the rationale for introducing GST tax in India, 2013. So up till now in last 10 years, 4 times UPSC asked question on GST. Prepare everything that is there on GST. There is one small video of 30 minutes by Ansari Sir on YouTube channel of LUKMAAN IAS. What are the contemporary issues related to goods and services tax? So you should watch that video, prepare your own notes of basics and those issues. Again there may be question because it is in news. Why? Supreme Court verdict. Recently Supreme Court verdict was there that the states and center they have equal powers to legislate on GST. ऐसा उन्होंने verdict दिया है, right? So again they may ask question here or in GS2 also, right? Some topics they are not asking every year. Like for example investment models. I wanted to show this. Okay, so investment models. So randomly they are asking. Since 2017 there is no question on investment model. So this year we may expect question on investment models. Yes, PM Gati Shakti is there. Rather we can say that that is related to infrastructure, and you can see since 2016 again infrastructure related ज़्यादातर directly question नहीं है. Rather question talks about investment in infrastructure results into inclusive and sustainable growth. वो question उन्होंने पूछा है, right? Now taxation is there. Now another important area of asking question is agroeconomy part of our syllabus, and this constitutes the major chunk of our syllabus. You can see this part of the syllabus. I will show that again to you. Agroeconomy part is this one. So many topics are there mentioned here: major cropping pattern, types of irrigation, transport and marketing of agriculture produce, e-technology in aid of farmers, subsidies, MSP, public distribution system, economics of animal rearing, food processing industries. So many topics are there. Every year direct questions related to syllabus topic are asked. And this is one of the major, we can say half weightage is to these topics only. So this is very important, and having link with geography also. So agro-based industries, agriculture and agro-based industries, GS1 geography part is also there. So overlapping है तो उसको अच्छे से तैयार करिए. Cost benefit ratio, जितना input डालोगे maximum output, right? So focus more on this part, because in other part UPSC is asking randomly question, it is not consistently asking. So this part and this part is the consistently UPSC ask question on these we can say syllabus topics. So likewise you should be preparing and giving more time for those topics. So you can see the nature of question here, like agro-food. What are the challenges and opportunities for food processing sector in India? How income of farmers be substantially increased by encouraging foods processing? So directly syllabus topic is there, food processing industries, the challenges and opportunities. Now, so you can see every year, almost every year, 2017, 18, 19, 20, एक ही टॉपिक पे क्वेश्चन पूछा हुआ है. Then food distribution system, now they are asking question here. Up till now 2019 तक उन्होंने फोकस नहीं किया था, but you can see 19, 20, 21 they asked question on food distribution system. And last year this National Food Security Act was in news due to pandemic. Food security was the major concern during pandemic, so it was expected the question from the basics. NFSA, one of the major law that we have in the country, ensuring food security especially of vulnerable sections of society, right? So that's why we are saying that this is major area of concern. So जो भी news में चल रहा है ना 1-2 साल से, so keep tab on those developments and try to relate to your syllabus. UPSC will ask question on that syllabus topic. Okay? Yes. Then agriculture finance, we can say that subsidies. So what do you mean by MSP? Direct question hai. How subsidies affect cropping pattern, cropping diversity, economy of farmers? So basically you can see that the questions relate directly to the syllabus. जो topic होता है ना, syllabus topic, food processing industry or movement of food grains or supply chain management, upward and downward linkages for these food processing units. Then let's say different types of subsidies, MSP is also there, e-technology in the aid of farmers. Direct questions उसी पे आते हैं UPSC में. So see here, technology in agriculture. How biotechnology improve the living standard of farmers? Direct question hai. Then you can see that the different revolutions they are talking about, like the green revolution, basically it was technology package, no? Green revolution, technology in the aid of farmers. Digital India program to help farmers. So how digital technology is improving or helping farmers. This year they asked question related to we can say the technology, how technology is helping farmers. So there was one question, I will talk about that, we have added there in science and technology basically. So now land reforms, आप देखते हैं कि 2013, 16 और 21. So last year UPSC asked question on land reforms. This year UPSC may not ask question on land reforms because it is not consistently being asked. Okay, I am telling you the areas from where the UPSC may ask question this year in mains examination. Okay, so that's why you should focus likewise where UPSC is asking question. Now environment section. In environment section, the nature of question is either the question relates to basics of that syllabus topic or current developments. Okay, so how they are related to current developments and basics, let us understand this. So see here, what is wetland? Explain the Ramsar concept of why it's used in the context of wetland conservation. Cite 2 examples of Ramsar sites from India. Now everyone knows the examples of Ramsar site because they are preparing for prelims examination. You can give the example of Chilika Lake, Pulikat Lake or Harike wetland, man-made दो, एक natural दो, वो example दे दो. Fine, जो prominent है वही example दे दो. Then wetland and this Ramsar concept we learn for prelims examination also, right? So yes, such basic question will be. Now how does biodiversity vary in India? How is Biological Diversity Act 2002 help in conservation of flora and fauna? Now this is static part, है ना? Static part है और environment में हमें 4 laws के बारे में तैयार करना है, 4 to 5 laws. Which are these? Wildlife Protection Act. Then we have Wildlife Protection Act 1972, Environment Protection Act 1986. Then we have Biological Diversity Act 2002, and then we have Forest Rights Act 2006. Okay, these 4 laws are very important when we talk about environment protection or conservation. तो उसके बारे में जो भी इश्यूज है, निटी-ग्रिटीज है, तैयार करके रखो एक एक पेज. Okay, we are expecting question related to that here in mains examination. Every year, almost every year in last 2-3 years, UPSC asks one question from Environment Protection Act in prelims also. Look at the prelims analysis. ठीक है, तो law से related वो question पूछ रहा है. Okay, then climate change and the global action plans on climate change. This is one of the major area where UPSC is now asking questions. Okay, like this year, what UPSC has asked? 2 questions directly from one topic that was in news. 2 questions. Explain the purpose of Green Grid initiative launched at World Leaders Summit of COP26, Glasgow. When was this idea first floated in ISA? ठीक है, ये डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चन है करंट अफेयर्स से. Then describe the major outcomes of this 26th session of COP at Glasgow. We had covered this in the Hindu analysis. Every day we were having follow up to this summit and developments, and at the end we discussed the outcome even in ED lecture. दोनों directly tackle हो जाता है उससे. This is how UPSC जो major development होता है ना current affairs में, वो हमारे exam के लिए important होता है, right? So from climate change such kind of questions are asked. Now when we talk about science and technology, see here I was talking about this question. This is syllabus topic, environment impact assessment, and this was very much in news, draft environment impact assessment notification 2020. So they not only ask the question related to this draft, but they ask how it differ from the earlier version of 2006. Okay, so you should be aware about the comparison aspect also, but now that is fine, वो topic अभी news में नहीं है, so UPSC will not ask related to that topic. You can skip preparation of that topic also. See, again I am telling you cost benefit analysis. Okay, so yes. Now science and technology, yes, so this is the area where students are not understanding how to prepare science and technology for mains examination. For prelims it is fine, they find different kinds of technology, they try to understand the basics, they try to understand the application. But in mains examination, see the nature of question and syllabus topic. I will give you some examples. What is the syllabus topic in science and technology? We will try to relate directly to that topic. Science and technology developments and their application effects in everyday life. Now look at the framing of questions. Everyday life, last 2 years question, 2022 questions. How is science interwoven deeply with our life, and what are the striking changes in agriculture triggered off by science based technology? ये मैं पूछ रहा था, agriculture वाला, right? So basically we have added here because this is science related question, science and technology related. So look at this statement, COVID-19 pandemic has caused unprecedented devastation worldwide. However, technological advancement are being availed readily to win over the crisis. Give an account of how technology was sought to aid the management of pandemic. In last year's foundation batch test at LUKMAAN IAS, we framed exactly same statement. Discuss that how, in what manner or how the technology is aiding the management of pandemic in foundation batch itself, in test series in the foundation batch. So basically it is expected question because last 2 years the COVID-19 was going on, and biotechnology, digital technology, like all this, like CoWIN platform is there, or through biotechnology, CRISPR-Cas9, development of mRNA vaccines, all these are related to biotechnological developments. And digital technology you should know. Then the use of we can say robotics was being done, isolation में patient थे, robots उनको care कर रहे थे, right? Then there was a technology of we can say drones were used to deliver the medicines, vaccines. Basically it is technology, right? So एक जगह पे ये सब मटेरियल नहीं मिलता है. दैट्स व्हाई यू शुड बी हैविंग अ रीडिंग डेली न्यूज़पेपर एंड टेक सम नोट्स आउट ऑफ इट, जो मेंस के लिए यूजफुल होते हैं, मेंस एग्जामिनेशन. In the end, I will talk about how to make notes for your mains examination also simultaneously. Fine. So this another area of asking question is technology wise. See here, every year UPSC asks alternatively nanotechnology, biotechnology. Look at the questions. 2016, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. One by one we'll go like here. 2016, government's mission on nanoscience and technology. Then 17, you can see that biotechnology, stem cell therapy. It is related to biotechnology. 2018, biotechnology. 2019, biotechnology. But यहाँ पे देखिए फार्मर्स का पूछा है, यहाँ पे बायोफार्मा का पूछा है, यहाँ पे उन्होंने स्पेसिफिकली हेल्थ का पूछा है. Then in 2020, nanotechnology, health sector. Again in 2021, applied biotechnology. And they are asking how uplifting poorer sections of society. So they are asking the technological developments, but application to specific application. Farmers, health, education, or let's say poor or vulnerable sections of society, or women empowerment. They will ask such type of questions here onwards. इस बार उन्होंने क्या पूछा है GS1 में, सोसाइटी पार्ट में इस बार क्या पूछा है उन्होंने, अभी डिस्कस किया होगा सर ने. What was that question? In GS1 technology related question was asked. What was that? नहीं क्वेश्चन. Society related questions. One question was related to technology also, ना? नहीं याद है? हाँ. So the question was asked from the society perspective, but the technology was asked, cryptocurrency. Right? So you should be linking all that technology and its application to various parts of your syllabus. And this requires dynamic preparation. अब rigid way में preparation नहीं करना है. Questions are being asked in a dynamic manner. Okay, and we should prepare likewise. Fine? Yes. Okay, so yes, coming back to the next part of the science and technology aspect. So this year they asked one unique type of question. Up till now they did not focus on defense technology. They did not focus on defense technology. Every year they were asking biotechnology, nanotechnology, space technology, nuclear technology. But for the first time they asked defense technology related question in mains. How is S-400 air defense system technically superior than the other systems in the world? Okay, but students should be aware about this development. Why? It was in news. Last year in November-December month, basically these missile systems were to be delivered in India. And that time it was very much in news, and in the Hindu newspaper explained page, with this title itself, there was one topic, and they had explained the technical specifications of how this system is superior than the other systems in the world. That's why I am telling you how you integrate current affairs with your static syllabus. Okay, so straightforward questions will be asked from the current affairs also. Now one more thing I wanted to tell here, that space related development. So almost every year or alternate year, 2015, 2017, 2019. So next year we can expect again question related to space sector. Okay, so there have been developments during pandemic time. What were the developments in space sector? Privatization and private entities entry into space sector. The establishment of NSIL and InSpace to facilitate private sector participation in space industry, that was there in last 2 years. So that's why this year in mains examination we are expecting question related to this.
We are invited marketing sector.
Yes. So in this manner we should do the analysis and take hints from the previous year questions. Okay, so that's why we are discussing this, and look at the questions from the internal security part. The nature of questions I told you. How the questions are being framed. What are the determinants of left wing extremism in eastern part of India? Naxalism or Maoism. Determinants or causes. First part. Look at the second part. What strategy should the government of India, civil administration, security of forces adopt to counter the threat in India or in affected areas? So causes, measures, causes, measures. Everywhere you will find the similar type of questions. So you can see that like this left wing extremism is showing downward trend but still suffers many parts. Briefly explain the government of India's approach to counter the challenges. Then you basically the framing is like that only, causes, government measures. तो हमारे notes इसी तरीके से होने चाहिए ना, right? And if suppose the new development is happening in some part of the country related to these challenges, you note it down, you mention in answer that government is recently has taken this decision, this aspects, new developments. ठीक है, तो इसको करंट अफेयर्स से इस तरीके से इंटीग्रेट करना है. नाउ सम क्वेश्चंस विल बी प्योरली ऑन करंट अफेयर्स. फॉर एग्जांपल लुक एट दिस 2019 क्वेश्चन. 2019 Indian government recently strengthened anti-terrorism law by amending UPA Act and NI Act. Analyze the changes in the context of prevailing security environment while discussing the scope and reasons for opposing UPA by human rights organizations. It is purely current affairs based question. Provisions of these amendments should be known, and that time it was so much in news and in debate. सारे UPSC students ने ये तैयार किया था and it was expected question. So current affairs से इस तरीके से question आता है. Okay, so the nature of question like this one, banning of Jamaat-e-Islami in Jammu and Kashmir brought into focus the role of overground workers in assisting terrorist organization. Examine role played by these workers in assisting terrorist organization in insurgency affected areas. Discuss the measures to neutralize influence of measures and the role. Causes, measures, causes, measures. This is how the questions are being framed. Likewise, you should be preparing all this. Syllabus topic के ही ऊपर question आते हैं. Cross border challenges, border management and what are the challenges across specific border with Myanmar, Bangladesh, Pakistan, China, and you should be knowing those challenges, what government is doing for those challenges. ठीक है, और उस साल के न्यूज़ में जो भी challenges होंगे, like in 2016, terms hot pursuit and surgical strikes are often used in connection with armed action. Discuss the strategic impact of such actions. उस टाइम पे न्यूज़ में था Uri action or Uri attack happened and thereafter we had surgical strikes. We had earlier surgical strike along the Myanmar border also before that strike. So that's why strategic impact they asked. Okay, so ये आपको current affairs में बहुत ज़्यादा detail में cover हो जाता है, so you should be having follow up on that. So syllabus topic, money laundering, this year question. Discuss how emerging technologies and globalization contribute to money laundering. Elaborate the measures to tackle the problem. Measures and causes, but here specific causes are asked. Emerging technologies and globalization. Okay, so we have to explain how globalization is contributing to this. Okay, the way basically the commerce is going on between India and other countries because of globalization. Reduce trade barriers or financial barriers, and the emerging technologies like blockchain technology you should talk here. because there is no regulation in the country. Because of that, it is being considered that the funding to the terrorist organizations is happening. तो ये आपको लिखना था emerging technologies में. Okay, fine. So now you are understanding one more trend that you should keep in mind. Almost every year, mark these words, almost every year question is there on cyber security. देखिए 2017, 18, 19, 20, 21. Every year UPSC asks question on cyber security, but some specific points they are asking. Like this cyber dome project they asked, students were not aware about this. It was very specific and it was actually implemented in Kerala, and later government of India wanted to implement this at national level. Now basic bhi पूछा है, different types of cyber crimes and measures required to be taken to fight the menace. Straightforward question. Discuss the potential threats of cyber attacks and security framework to prevent it. Straightforward question. But sometimes the question will be contemporary challenges. Keeping in view of Indian security, internal security, analyze the impact of cross-border cyber attacks and also discuss defensive measures. Now what was happening during pandemic times? Several instances of the cyber attacks by Chinese hacker groups. Okay, and that those attacks happened basically on government websites. Critical establishment, you should give example of Kudamkulam. Kudamkulam nuclear power plant was compromised. The authorities themselves said this. Okay, but the data was not leaked, they said like this. You should know that this is cross-border cyber attack. तो contemporary current affairs से ये examples आपको लेने हैं इस तरीके से. Fine? Yes. Now, lastly, disaster and disaster management. I was telling you the 4 types of questions they are asking. Okay, one, they will ask the causes of disaster. Okay, like describe the various causes and effects of landslide. First part of the question. Mention important components of national landslide risk management strategy by NDMA. So this is important part that you should visit NDMA website, look into National Disaster Management Plan given by this NDMA and National Disaster Management, National Policy on Disaster Management. ये दोनों डॉक्यूमेंट आपको स्कैन करके लेना है और आपके नोट्स बनाने हैं. Discuss the recent measures initiated in disaster management by Government of India, departing from the earlier reactive approach. They themselves are saying that earlier was reactive. So present must be some proactive. ठीक है, तो what are these proactive measures being taken by the Government of India to deal with these different disasters? तो जो है ना disaster preparedness वाला part, cyclone management, प्री डिजास्टर, जो डिजास्टर होने से पहले ही तैयार रखो ताकि इम्पैक्ट कम हो, तो डिजास्टर मिटिगेशन वी कॉल इट. सो दैट इज द प्रोएक्टिव एंड बेसिकली इट इज पार्ट ऑफ डिजास्टर रिस्क रिडक्शन, DRR, सेंदाई फ्रेमवर्क. तो यही है एक्चुअली इंप्लीमेंट हो रहा है इंडिया में गवर्नमेंट में. आई वॉज टेलिंग यू सेकंड लेट्स से टाइप ऑफ क्वेश्चन ऑन द इंटरनेशनल फ्रेमवर्क्स. Various measures taken by India for disaster risk reduction before and after signing Sendai framework for DRR. How this framework is different from Hyogo framework? Basically, we teach this in foundation batch. Hyogo framework, this was from 2005 to 15 and this was replaced by Sendai framework 15 to 30. This is in line with sustainable development goals. ओके, सो ये आपको इसके प्रोविजंस तैयार करने हैं 2 फ्रेमवर्क के. एंड देन देयर इज प्राइम मिनिस्टर्स 10-point एजेंडा, ओके, फॉर डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट और डिजास्टर रिस्क रिडक्शन. ओके, नाउ आई वाज टेलिंग यू कि कैसे क्वेश्चन आता है. तो कॉजेस, सुनामी, द फैक्टर्स रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर ऑकरेंस ऑफ सुनामी एंड इफेक्ट्स, कॉजेस, इफेक्ट, मेजर्स, causes, effect, measures. Every time they will ask such type of question. Now I was telling you that guidelines, with reference to National Disaster Management Authority guidelines, discuss the measures to be adopted to mitigate impact of recent instances of cloudburst in any place. That's why I was telling you, you refer to NDMA website and guidelines for different natural disasters. Okay, man-made as well as natural disasters. Okay, and disaster vulnerability and assessment part. So vulnerability aspect is different. We have to understand which areas of India are vulnerable for that particular disaster. Like eastern coast of India is more vulnerable to tropical cyclones. Himalayan zone is more vulnerable for earthquakes. Particular area of northwest India is more vulnerable for desertification and droughts. ये इसको बोलते हैं disaster vulnerability and assessment. Okay, so that is also part of disaster management.
Isn't Ladakh also facing for the water crisis?
Yes, yes, we can say that. Now, coming back to this part, this year's question paper, and just now simultaneously we are looking into these questions. I wanted to explain some aspect here or in the trend analysis related to this part of our syllabus. First thing you should know, the questions, some of the questions will be related to basics. Okay, basic static part of our syllabus, like GDP, how it was different in calculation, like distinguish between capital budget revenue. दोनों question एकदम static conceptual पूछे हैं. It can be even covered through NCERT. Now, you can see that some questions will be directly related to syllabus. Okay, so when I say syllabus, you should be knowing that the syllabus is pretty much descriptive. You can see here in economy part. Investment in infrastructure is essential for more rapid and inclusive economic growth. Inclusive growth. So, syllabus topic. So, what are the measures required for inclusive growth? One of that is infrastructure. That's why spending on infrastructure has been promoted by the government during the pandemic times. Okay, so that there is no, let's say poor people are not becoming more vulnerable, there is inclusive growth and all aspects. Syllabus topic is there. Okay, then you should know crop diversification is syllabus topic. Cropping pattern and crop diversification. What are the present challenges before crop diversification? How emerging technologies provide opportunity for crop diversification. तो ये सारी चीजें आपको पता होनी चाहिए. Some questions will be directly from syllabus topic. Some questions will be directly from current affairs. ये देखिए S400, just now we talked about this system. Glasgow summit and its outcome. 2 questions from the current affairs. Then in this other part you can see, yes, do you agree that Indian economy has recently experienced V-shaped recovery? Give reasons in support of answer. This is current affairs. After pandemic, did we have V-shaped recovery? That was in news for almost 6 months. Widely debated topic, whether it is U-shaped recovery, V-shaped recovery, W-shaped recovery, right? Due to first wave, second wave pandemic, कुछ लोगों ने बोला कि W-shape हो गया है. It was covered in economic survey also. तो इस साल का इकोनॉमिक सर्वे का एनालिसिस जो वीडियो है, इट इज देयर एट लुकमान आईएएस वेब यूट्यूब चैनल, तो वो भी आप देख लीजिए, वहाँ पे ये एक्सप्लेन्ड है, राइट. सो वी शेप्ड रिकवरी मीन्स बेसिकली द इकोनॉमी इज सडनली प्लंजिंग डाउन एंड ऑल्सो स्टीपली रिकवरिंग. ठीक है, तो फर्स्ट वे ऑफ पैंडेमिक सडनली इकोनॉमिक रिकवरी, लेट्स से एक्टिविटीज ड्रॉप्ड and after that suddenly it increased. This was claimed by government, but did we have V-shaped recovery? तो यहाँ पे आपको उन्होंने ओपिनियन पूछा है and you have to provide some supportive argument on that opinion. ठीक है, तो ये opinion based question है, but it is from current affairs. Understood? So the nature of question I am just telling you that how UPSC is asking question on. You can see that what are the research and development achievements in applied biotechnology. How will these achievements uplift the poorer sections of society? Okay, so you should know in biotechnology it is related to we can say that the GM crops are there, or we can say that the nutritional security aspect is there in biotechnology. Also you should know that several diseases earlier, their diagnosis and cure was very difficult, it was costly. Due to the new developments in biotechnology, what has happened? The cost has reduced. So it is helping poorer sections in health sector, right? So you give such example, you give the example of let's say the CRISPR-Cas9 technology in biotechnology development. Also you should talk about nutritional security when we talk about biotechnology. Okay, like that golden rice example. Yes, fortified rice, golden rice, ये सारा आना चाहिए यहाँ पर. It is basically helping poorer sections of society. Okay, yes. Then of course the other questions are pretty much static and they are straightforward to the syllabus. So let me tell you that GS3 paper is scoring subject and you should focus more on this. ठीक है, जो बोलते हैं ना कि जो जितना inputs डालोगे उसका output मिलेगा. So that is basically GS3 paper. Okay, so and you can see that the syllabus is quite descriptive. So prepare small notes. What are the key takeaways I am telling you here? First, stick to the syllabus. The most important point, stick to the syllabus. Make small notes of your, we can say, each syllabus topic and subtopic also. Subtopic also. How to make notes of for mains examination? Everyone pay attention here because this is going to be very helpful for you. For each and every topic, you should have, suppose this is A4 size paper that you are having. So for each and every topic or issue related to that topic, you should have one page note like this. Here you can add title. Here you add context, why it is in news. Then you write basics or we can say the brief developments related to current affairs on that topic. Here you talk basics of this topic. Box बना के आप basics लिख दीजिए. If it is related to polity, article number. If it is related to your economy section, you talk about the basics of economy. Explain that here briefly. Then you should talk about or make a table here, advantages, disadvantages or benefits and challenges, limitations, disadvantages. 5 points each. Priority wise you write those points. The most important one should come first. Then write way forward measures here. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. In way forward there should be some government scheme related to this being implemented or something like that. Or any recommendation by any committee or something like that. Then small conclusion should be also there. If you find any good caption in the, let's say, newspaper, write down that caption as a part of conclusion. वैसे ही आंसर में लिखना है हमें एग्जाम में. हर एक सिलेबस टॉपिक का आपका कंक्लूजन और इंट्रोडक्शन रेडी होना चाहिए. एग्जाम में क्यों सोचना है आपको इंट्रोडक्शन और कंक्लूजन के ऊपर? बॉडी के ऊपर सोचिए ना, क्या पूछा है उसके ऊपर. पता है हमें सिलेबस टॉपिक से पूछा है तो इंट्रो और कंक्लूजन सेम ही होना चाहिए, फिक्स्ड. देन here you make small box and you add some facts, data, example if it is related to your syllabus topic or relevant here. Example, international, let's say success story or something like that. If it is there, this should be your approach in notes making. ठीक है, इसके आगे आपको यही एक अप्रोच फॉलो करना है और आपका एक हर एक सिलेबस टॉपिक का ऐसा नोट होना चाहिए और करंट अफेयर्स उसके साथ जोड़ दीजिए टॉपिक को. ओके, वॉट एवर द करंट डेवलपमेंट्स हैपन, यू मेक वन पेज, यू अटैच दैट, स्टैपल दैट टू योर बेसिक. कर सकते हैं ऐसे, राइट? सो दिस इज गोइंग टू बी योर मंत्रा फॉर सक्सेस मंत्रा आई एम टेलिंग यू फॉर योर मेंस एग्जामिनेशन. एंड टॉपर्स डू हैव दिस स्ट्रेटेजी. मेंस एग्जामिनेशन के हॉल के अंदर जाने से पहले आप सिर्फ ये नोट्स रिवाइज करेंगे. वहाँ पे एम लक्ष्मीकांत या कोई एक बड़ा बुक लेके वहाँ पे रिवाइज करने नहीं जा सकते आप, राइट? यस. नाउ this was related to economy part. Do we have questions related to economy? I was actually explaining this part, key takeaways. So small notes that you have to prepare and cover basic study material. I am telling you why I am telling you basic study material. It is very important that you cover all syllabus topic but not from multiple sources. First, basic NCERTs you revise even for mains examination, like economy, macroeconomics, 12th standard and 11th standard economic development, दोनों NCERT पढ़ने हैं. Then reference book, you can take any reference book here, but only one reference book, standard reference book, not more than one, or either you can follow the class notes if you are having any or have done any class. ठीक है? Then I was talking about these notes. Link and integrate current affairs with the syllabus topics. This is very important part of GS papers, all GS papers. Okay, and especially GS2 and GS3. More than 50% questions linked to current affairs. Okay, and even if it is not linking, you deliberately link. That makes your answer unique and dynamic. The examiner will be able to relate that आंसर. और बहुत सारे स्टूडेंट क्या करते हैं, सेम कोई एक क्लास नोट होता है उसी से सारा कंटेंट लिखते हैं. इफ यू गिव एनी गुड एग्जांपल दैट इज इन न्यूज़ व्हिच इज डिफरेंट फ्रॉम द अदर स्टूडेंट, यू गेट +1. ओके, एंड लेटेस्ट डेटा एंड फैक्ट्स रिलेटेड टू सिलेबस टॉपिक्स. दिस इज ऑल्सो वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट. ओके, सो दीज आर द की टेक अवेज एंड दिस इज हाउ यू शुड प्रिपेयर फॉर GS3 पेपर ऑल्सो. यस, एनी क्वेश्चन रिलेटेड टू GS3 प्रिपरेशन? We will cover the geography part otherwise. Yes, so in the same manner we have prepared the trend analysis for geography part, and you can see there are no variations in the number of marks allocated to the geography in GS1 paper, and you can see almost around 100 marks are allocated for geography part. Okay, 4 questions in 10 markers, 4 questions in 15 markers. Understood? And this has been constantly from this analysis what we understand that geography weightage in GS1 40%. It is substantial looking at the different subtopics that are there in GS1. Okay, there is art and culture, there is modern India, there is post independence, then there is we can say world history, then there is society. Out of that, the 5th one is geography, but geography is having the highest weightage as a single subject in GS1. Then consistent weightage is given. That means we are not worried about whether the UPSC will reduce its weightage and हमने जो time डाला है वो waste हो जाएगा. Okay, so we should be preparing this subject because it is dependable subject. Whatever the input that we are going to give, we are going to get the output. I would say geography is that subject in GS1 which will give more output than we can say the less amount of time that you are investing. In examination hall I am telling you, in those 3 hours. Why? Because geography is all about diagrams, maps and charts. आपको एंड में आधा घंटा बाकी है और ज्योग्राफी के 4 क्वेश्चंस लिखने हैं. You will be easily writing that. ठीक है, आप सिर्फ वहाँ पे चार्ट्स, डायग्राम्स और मैप्स बताइए, ज्योग्राफी का कॉन्सेप्ट एक्सप्लेन कर दीजिए, दैट इज फाइन. यूपीएससी एग्जामिनर विल गिव फुल मार्क्स देयर. ठीक है, सो द एग्जामिनर विल अंडरस्टैंड दैट यू आर नॉट हैविंग सफिशिएंट टाइम, बट यू नो व्हाट इज आस्क्ड इन द क्वेश्चन. बट अदर टॉपिक्स, सोसाइटी, हिस्ट्री, डिस्क्रिप्टिव, यू हैव टू राइट मोर मैटर देयर, राइट? सो इट विल टेक मोर टाइम. तो ज्योग्राफी के जो आंसर्स होते हैं वो कम टाइम लेके मैक्सिमम मार्क्स दे सकते हैं. ये आपको ध्यान रखना है. ओके, सो यू कैनॉट हैव ज्योग्राफी एज अ ऑप्शन हियर कि नहीं करते हैं प्रिपरेशन, थोड़ा ही करते हैं, अदरवाइज यू विल नॉट गेट गुड मार्क्स इन GS1 पेपर. ओके, नाउ let's see what UPSC has asked this year, what type of questions related to syllabus topics that UPSC is asking, and then in the end we'll understand what should be the preparation strategy for geography section. Now you can see that differentiate between causes of landslide in Himalayan region and Western Ghats. 11th standard NCERT, fundamentals of physical geography. There is one box given there and explaining the differentiating factors for landslides in Himalayas and Western Ghats. Straightforward question. A similar question on landslide UPSC asked twice in the past. ठीक है, 2013 में एक बार क्वेश्चन आया था, उसके बाद 2016 या 17 में आया था. Again UPSC asked question on landslide. It is favorite topic of UPSC. Okay, then you can see that the questions largely relates to economic geography of our syllabus and the natural hazards and the land use changes or changes in the different natural landforms and features like climate change, or I will tell you how UPSC is asking questions here related to that. There is one syllabus topic talking about the changing nature of water bodies or different physical bodies that are there. So कैसे question frame किया है? What are the environmental implications of reclamation of water bodies in urban land use? Explain with examples. Now, why it was in news also? Urban floods. This has become the common phenomenon during monsoon months. Every year, one or two cities are facing this urban floods. And the major reason is encroachment on urban water bodies. Hyderabad, 2020 floods. Then Chennai floods, 2015. Mumbai floods, 2005. Basically encroachment on urban water bodies. Water bodies, urban can be lakes also as well as rivers and wetlands. Okay, so encroachment, they are asking what are the environmental implications of that. Simple, direct, straightforward, link to. Then natural hazards, two questions, landslide and volcanic eruption. Although it is also related to physical geography. क्योंकि वो क्या पूछ रहे हैं? They are asking impact of volcanic eruption on environment, surrounding environment. We cover this in, we can say, geomorphology part in the foundation batch, right? So it is again related to syllabus only, but this year's geography questions were, not conventional. हर साल कैसे यूपीएससी ओशन करंट्स पे क्वेश्चन पूछ लिया, एयर मासेस पे पूछ लिया, इन्वर्जन ऑफ टेम्परेचर पे पूछ लिया, बट दिस ईयर व्हाट दे आस्क, मेंशन द ग्लोबल occurrence of volcanic eruption in 2021. Now who are having this follow up on this volcanic eruptions? Again, here onwards you should keep this in mind. Several volcanic eruption happen in 1 year in different parts of the world. And last year, what was in news? Nyiragongo in Congo, Democratic Republic of Congo, African country, a major volcanic eruption. Mount Etna in Italy, again major volcanic eruption. Icelandic eruptions, every year that is going on. Hawaiian volcanoes, every year volcanic eruption happen. At least ये तो लिखना चाहिए थे, जो हर साल होता है, ठीक है? तो इसी साल भी हुआ ही होगा. That logic can be used, right? 3-4 examples could be given and their impact on regional environment. So how it impacts the climate of the region, weather conditions in climate of the region, especially temporary impact, we can say global cooling, global warming due to the volcanic eruption, impact on the surrounding soil, impact on the crops, impact on the human habitations, water bodies, ये सब चीजें लिखना था यहाँ पर, right? So now this was also unique question. Applied question पूछ रहे हैं, डायरेक्टली आपको स्टडी मटेरियल में नहीं मिलेगा, ये मुझे बताना था यहाँ पर. These questions answer कोई भी क्लास हो या कोई भी चीज, I am not saying that this is by, I am also telling that ये डायरेक्टली हमने भी क्लास में कवर नहीं किया है फाउंडेशन बैच में, but I am telling you if your concepts are clear and if you are having your mind open, you are able to apply that knowledge to write the answers. Understood? So like this one, briefly mention the alignment of major mountain ranges of the world. We talk about Alps mountain, Himalayas, Rockies and Andes in foundation batch. West to east alignment, north to south. And explain their impact on local weather conditions. We learned the climatic impact and significance of Himalayan mountains, how it acts as a climate divide. We learn about this. We learn about different local winds, Chinook in Rockies. We learn about Phone in Alps. Again, it affects the weather conditions in that region. यही तो यहाँ पे लिखना था with examples. Understood? So अलग अलग जगह पे हमने जो पढ़ा है हमें उसको एक जगह इंटीग्रेट करना है on the basis of what is asked in the question. So keep your mind open. Rigid way में पढ़ाई नहीं करनी है. Understood? Yes. Now you can see that how the questions are being asked on the different resource distribution and the location of industries also. So yes, discuss the multidimensional implications of uneven distribution of mineral oil in the world. Okay, so we know or we learn about the distribution of mineral oil and natural gas. Do we learn about the implication? No, it is applied part. So again I am repeating again and again here that UPSC is asking applied aspect. Go one step ahead and learn about the implications of this distribution of resources. Two such questions were asked. One, this one, and you can see that socio-economic implications arising out of development of IT industry. They are not asking about the factors responsible for location, which is syllabus topic. What they ask? Socio-economic implications of let's say those IT industries. तो ये impact पूछ रहा है.
What is your impact on human life?
Yes. So one question, this second question they were asking implications. Okay, and similar one question was related to this Gondwana land. Despite being one of the countries of Gondwana land, its mining industry contributes much less to its GDP. So basically it is talking about the kind of dichotomy that we have in India. We have huge mineral resources but we are not able to exploit them, and for the economic growth it is not contributing. There are several factors. Tribal people are living there. It is densely vegetated area, densely forested area. Then we should know the uneven topography is there. Along with that monsoonal factors are there. Then we should talk about the obsolete technology is there, technology upgradation is there. You give example, coal, iron ore, ये सारी चीजें लिखनी है. Okay, where the minerals are located, it is least developed, while the demand for these minerals is in developed states like southern states or western states, but these minerals are located in central states. तो उनका हाँ, तो डेवलपमेंट डेफिसिट जो है या फिर इनइक्वालिटी जो है वो वन ऑफ द फैक्टर है. सो अगेन अप्लाइड, आपको थिंक करना है वहाँ पे, और बहुत ही कम टाइम है थिंक करने के लिए. यू हैव वेरी लेस टाइम टू थिंक देयर. सो दैट्स व्हाई यू शुड ब्रेनस्टॉर्म ऑन द सिलेबस टॉपिक्स व्हाट एवर यू आर रीडिंग, कि इसको कैसे लिंक किया जा सकता है, एंड करंट अफेयर्स से भी. Fine. So now you have understood how UPSC is asking question. So what should be the key takeaways from the geography section? Yes, again the areas of questions that are being asked in the mains examination, they are completely different from prelims. In prelims this year they asked out of 15 questions 9 questions from mapping section. Okay, remaining 3 were like information based questions. तो जो जिस एरिया से क्वेश्चन आता है ना प्रीलिम्स में, उस एरिया से मेंस पे क्वेश्चन ज़्यादातर नहीं आता है. ओके, तो डिफरेंट सिलेबस टॉपिक्स आर देयर. वन थिंग, स्टिक टू द सिलेबस. अगेन सिलेबस टॉपिक्स ये फिक्स है, जो वहीं पे आपको मतलब सिलेबस से ही क्वेश्चन आता है. टेक हिंट्स फ्रॉम द PYQs. अगेन आई एम टेलिंग यू दैट PYQs आर वेरी 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 इंपॉर्टेंट. यू शुड अंडरस्टैंड द ट्रेंड दैट UPSC is asking questions on that topic and the framing of questions. Like this year they ask applied questions, they ask implications. ठीक है, तो ये PYQs से हिंट लेना है, नहीं तो हर साल की तरह सेम तैयारी करते रहोगे. and UPSC is going to be dynamic there in asking questions. Basic study material, again NCERT is very very important, and one reference study material or class notes. Okay, then diagram and map drawing practice for mains, very very important. Geography answers should include diagrams and maps. It is a kind of added advantage, value addition in your answers. And lastly, some good examples, facts and datas, especially related to the distribution of resources and the industries. So whenever the question talks about this syllabus topic, or let's say some examples, when I say examples like जैसे volcanic eruption हुआ है, कहीं पे earthquake हुआ है, note down कर लो, okay, या फिर somewhere there is tsunami or somewhere there is landslide in India, some let's say natural hazards that are there, you should be knowing them, you should write then your answer. Like in Western Ghats, in Idukki district in Kerala, last 3 years से हर साल landslide होता है, तो वहाँ पे वो वेस्टर्न घाट्स वाला क्वेश्चन में लिखना चाहिए ना वहाँ पे एक एग्जाम्पल, राइट? ओके, सो यस, एनी क्वेश्चन दैट यू हैव, यू वांट टू आस्क मी? Okay, we hope that this discussion was helpful and you score good marks in your mains examination. If you have any queries also, you can contact Lukman IAS later on, we can talk there also. Fine? Okay, thank you.
Welcome to Lukman IAS. Study General Studies with Lukman IAS for building comprehensive knowledge. GS paper 2 and 4 will be taken by S. Ansari and other papers will be covered by renowned faculties. Live classes are as effective as offline classes. The classes are highly interactive in nature. Your doubts and queries will be addressed and there will be dictation of notes. In the last 10 years, Lukman IAS has set up a niche in the field of UPSC guidance.